All right. Let's see if, hopefully I'm streaming over on the Twitch side. Looks like I am. All right. That's a funny sound. All right, let's cut this over and you guys should hear me. You guys should be able to see me. Good, good. All right. So, what are we doing today? We are securing a little more Linux. Yep. How is Ranger doing, by the way? Let's go check on Ranger real quick. Let's go check on Ranger. How's he doing? He's on his little bed. This bigger bed is kind of the two other ones combined. So he's down on the smaller one. But he likes to put his nose down on the tile, so that's part of it too. Okay, so what are we working on today? We're going to do some Linux. The new one is not as big as I would have liked, and that's unfortunate. Linux developer, how's it going? So what we're doing today, I'm going to work on some stuff. I'm going to show you guys some stuff in the labs, and we're going to keep building out the lab stuff that we've been doing. And then I'm also going to do some stuff in the home lab. Particularly, I want to get this last little bit worked out where I was doing, yeah, didn't have anything run. So what I need to do on this one is cd back to opt scap scc, I think. And we need cscc, I think it's setup. Let's see if it's set up. I think it's set up. That'll do it for me. Discord got ugly. What happened to Discord? Hold on. What, you said Discord got ugly. I don't think I... Oh. Sorry, I thought you meant like our Discord had some problems in it. I just went to look. I don't see anything too bad in there, though. Where's this command? Maybe it's help. Let's try help real quick. There's a way to do the config. Oh, it might be -- config. Let's go look real quick. Is it -- config? Thought it was set up, but I'm probably wrong. Not set. Yeah, config. It's config. I want to set this up in the home lab and get this running before we do this other stuff, just so that it'll be running in the background kind of as we work on this other stuff. All right, we're going to configure our SCAP content, and we are going to say that we don't want the Mozilla Firefox, we don't want 2, we don't want 3, we don't want 5 or 4 or 7 or 8. But what we do want in the configure options and the scanning option is always run the scan no matter what. And then we're going to go ahead and hit 0, and then we're going to exit and do the scan. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how that works, what I'm doing right there, but I wanted to get this scan running because I want to say it takes like maybe an hour on these boxes. So it's going to take a little while to get the STIG STIG scan going on that box. So while that's going, let me show you guys the kind of manual checks will be marked as not reviewed. That's important. And then it's going to go through and it's going to start scanning my Rocky 18 box, as it were. That's the one that we're doing. And it's scanning for whatever things it needs to. Some things are going to take longer than other. That's all fine. We'll let that go. Let me pull up a lab for you guys to do with me while that's kind of running in the background. So we're going to call this lab here STIG. This will be a STIG lab. And if anybody wants to do it with me, here is the lab. I'll link it to you guys. Maybe I do need to turn that music down a little bit. It's only on like 5 though. Let's put it at like 2. Hopefully that's not too low or too high or too low. It's me, Peeve. How's it going? We are setting up doing some labs, doing a little Linux. Some of you guys know I've been adding to this doc over here on the right. And then every time we get done, I go and I drop it down in our Discord. So there's like a set of notes in our Discord that kind of show all the things that we've been working on. But this one's going to be the STIG scan. And it's what is a STIG? That's the first question. So we might go to STIG document library, and that is something that the US government provides, right? And you have to play nice with the STIGs if you want to work in government systems, which I do heavily. But if you don't want to work in government systems and you just want a good baseline, they also offer you a pretty good little baseline. So like maybe you want to go and get a tool like I'm using here for SCC for RHEL 8 or 9, right? So you can get the scanning tool for these and be able to scan your device, which is what we're doing. Well, we're going to do it in this lab, but we're also doing it right here in the background of this. So this is running, we're on 41 out of 450. So I expect that's going to take a while. And we kicked it off right at about the start of this. So 2152 or so, we kicked it off. We can round it up and say 2153, maybe. Well, let's say 2152. So that was our kickoff time. That's outside of the lab. 2152 kickoff of SCAP SCC tool on Rocky 18, right? So that'll just be our lab. So what's a STIG? It is the Secure Technical Implementation Guide or Guidelines for Systems, right? Secure Technical Implementation Guideline for Systems. So what does it kind of cover? Well, if you want to know what it covers, I got to open up this other tool real quick. Let me get this out of the way here real quick, because not that I mind you guys seeing that, it's a bit bright. So let me move this over here. And where do I have it? Here. I'll pull up the STIG viewer. It's a little bit bright. But the STIGs for RHEL 9 that we're going to look at are going to kind of look like this. So these are the STIGs that I'm looking at for other systems, right? Other systems that I might be dealing with. But in this case, I want to look at the RHEL 9 STIGs. And they just released a new version on the 30th of January. So what was that, like 7 days ago? That just came out. And what I'm going to do then is I'm running an older scan. This tool's an older scan tool. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to generate a new checklist from this STIG right here. And then when I get this list of there, I'll get a checklist file from this. I will actually import that checklist into this checklist I've already created. And you might say, why would you do that? You already have a checklist. Well, if you import it into this one, you'll be going against the newer STIG. So you can scan on an older set of STIG regulations. And then you say, well, what's the trade-off? Well, you're going to have a few more manual checks typically. Like there's, in this new scan, there's 401 total. Well, there were 464 before. So 401, they've limited some down as far as the recommended ones that are required. And then you can come in here and you can look at, there's different categories. I've talked to you guys about this before. Category 1 must be you must have these Cat 1s to be able to be on a DREN system, which is like your government type systems, right? That's their networks. You can get away with a certain amount of like Cat 1s and Cat 3s that are open, but you get an overall score. So right here on the STIGs, we'll get a score. We are currently rocking a 0. 0 is pretty bad. You want to be over 90. You can get away on some systems, and when you're moving stuff into the environment, typically like an 80. Because an 80 is a pretty okay score, but then when they get on the system, as they configure some of these last pieces, it tends to jump up over 90 because some of the things that have to be there are going to be there. Is Satellite a K8's orchestration for VMs? Is K8's a good tool for orchestrating VM? Traffic King, Satellite is a totally different, no, Satellite is something, it is a proprietary tool by Red Hat for, well, let me take it back a second. It is a paid for tool from Red Hat. It is comprised of multiple different open source tools, Foreman, Catello, Pulp. I'm trying to think of the other functionality that might be there. So no, that's one question. Satellite is its own tool. That's something that just allows you to lifecycle patches and maintain repositories. Kubernetes is not great for VMs, although there is a tool called, what the heck's that tool? There was a question about if there's a good tool for Kube, and I would say the tool, not Minikube, Killer Coda. What's the name of that tool that they use? KubeVirt. They use KubeVirt. It's KubeVirt that they use. So that would be if you need to use a tool. And what KubeVirt does and what they kind of advertise it for is when you want to run Kubernetes type workflows that aren't ready to just be some libraries. Like you need a bigger workflow that's pretending to be on an actual box, which, by the way, one of the reasons that's so good for Killer Coda is where we go and we work on systems like we're doing real Linux work, right? Like we want to get in and do Linuxy type stuff, so we want to pretend we're on a real Linux box. That's what we do in Killer Coda most of the time. So that's what I would say for that is KubeVirt. All right, anyways, let's come back over here. Let's go look at this lab, right? So I've kind of done a little bit of prep work over here and showed you guys kind of what STIGs are. And then we know that we have a STIG tool running over here. It's at, where's he at? Oh, he's making a whole bunch of them. But he's at 105 of 450 checks that he's going to do. Hey, how's it going, Pay Short? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are just hanging out and doing Linux right now. So this is the lab. It's in the... I'll link it for people that want it again. Here is the lab. And what it is your team has to integrate with the U.S. government system, right? Some type of system out there. I do a lot of integration of different research systems with government entities. So, we will get our system stigged up to a certain score, be able to move it onto their network, do whatever testing that we need. Typically, there's a certain burn-in test before we ever even connect it to their network. But before you even start that, you have to have your basic security compliance in there. So I do the same type of thing for them that I'm going to do right here. And also, part of what I'm doing here today with that other run is I am going to be building out a process to automate this for... well, I don't even have to automate it so much, but at least automate the deploy for this environment that I'm going to be in. So that part's pretty straightforward. Actually, I think I might have started that before. Pay Short, nice. Yeah. Listen while you fix on something. If you have any questions or if anything we can help you troubleshoot, let me know, because that's what we do, right? We're basically, at the end of the day, a bunch of Linux guys that's what we do. Let me link the Discord for anybody that wants it. The Professional Linux Users Group has been around a long time. Our job is to help people go from hobbyist in this space into like being a pro. And I don't think there's that much of a hop. It's just, for some people, it's just being told you can do it. For some of you guys, you just need to spend a little more time with the professional products, right? Anyway, so this is one. This is going to be a security type thing that you might do. So your servers, you got to get them to a certain score. So you have decided to use the SCC tool to scan your servers to see where they are before any remediation. So this is the first part of like a remediation, is we would see where we're at. We're going to download and install the SCC tool. Then we're going to configure and run the tool for our OS. And then we're going to verify the output and see where it's stored. So we're going to do all that. Oh, Pay Short, nice. Yeah, you've been a Unix admin for a while. Good. Well, this is what we do. This is what I try to show people about and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at this real quick. You can put this tool wherever you want, but for me, I'm just making a directory for us to go work in. So make directory root SCC and then CD in there, and then we're going to download a version of the DoD tool. So SCC 510.1 for Ubuntu. All right, it's been saved. Then we're going to go and we're going to CD. Did I not get, hold on, let me make sure. Oh, I was supposed to unzip it. That's my bad. I always skip ones in my labs. Then we're going to jump in there. And then we're going to install the SCC tool on this machine. One of the things we always want to pay attention to is where does this install? Now, I put it down in root SCC as a little staging place, but it went and got put in opt SCC. That's an important thing for us to know, right? We want to know our pathing. So if I was back over here answering myself's questions, what is a STIG? Why do we care? Well, if you're government, you have to adhere to it. If you're just some company, it can be a nice set of security baseline configs to get you started. Now, there are things in the STIG that you may never implement as a company. Some people cannot get away from being able to key root from a jump box and jump in everywhere as root. Some organizations can't get away from that. Now, that is a requirement inside of the STIGs. You can't be jumping around from a keyed root account. You guys see me do that in the home lab. I do it, but I understand the security considerations of what I'm doing, and I understand if that key ever gets compromised, my whole system's compromised. However, if somebody compromises the root account to get the key, it didn't really matter to me at that point anyways. Traffic King said, question, who in the organization sets the baseline STIG policy? If there isn't a set policy, who should speak up and take initiative? Well, Traffic King, I'm going to tell you, if you have a big enough company, it's going to be coming from security, and it's typically a team called the GRC team, the Governance, Risk, and Compliance. But they don't just speak in a vacuum. It's going to be also your engineering team for Linux and platform that's going to be able to say, hey, we can't do all of them. We can start to implement some of them. We can start to move towards, let's try to get our systems to 60%. Well, let's scan where we are now and see how secure we are, and maybe have a policy in the next 6 months, all builds will be at 60% or 70%. Does that make sense? So you're not going to just like one day apply all of these, because I promise you will break things. But if you are like on the Linux side of things, let's say nobody ever came to me and told me, Scott, your team needs to do this. I should still be thinking about this, because of the three pieces of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, of those three security components that people talk about, availability is the thing that I care most about on an operations team. I've told you guys this before. Availability of systems is the number one key performance indicator, KPI, that your operations teams will run. It is the number one thing that matters, is how much was the system available to process, to make the company money, to be available to answer questions for customers. That's the number one thing, right? So, okay. How can Canonical improve security bug fixes? I don't know. I don't know about that one. I guess probably just follow best practice if they aren't already. So let's go over to that directory, right? And then we're going to set up the config for the SCC tool. The SCC tool by default will try to run as many things as it can find on the system that are correct. But if it doesn't find anything, it's just going to skip it. So here's the change log, so any changes that have happened. And what we're going to do is, we know, if I just hit Control-C real quick, I know that I am on an Ubuntu 20.04 system. So if I go to run this, right, if I go to run this tool, and the tool runs, takes a second, and it says, okay, skip that, and we're going to configure SCAP information. I don't need 1 ever, and for this system I don't need 3, but I do want number 2 up there. So you guys see I put the number 1 in, and it took away 1, and I took away that, but I do want 2004 long-term support to be scanned. Okay, so I'm going to hit 0 to go back, and then I'm going to go to 6, right? And by the way, these steps are right here on the left. And I'm going to say that I want to set the scanning options. And if I scroll up a little bit, the very first scanning option is run all of the SCAP content regardless of if this thing thinks that that's applicable. So we're going to run it. We're going to hit 0, and we're going to hit 0. So we've got it set to do 2004. And then we've got it set to always scan 2004, even if for some reason it didn't think that this was really that box. Now we're going to exit save changes and perform a local scan. So we're going to let this scan. I think this one has 166. We'll see here in a second. It'll tell us how many it's doing. Yeah, it's doing 166. So it's going to scan them all for us, right? Now it's going to output a few things. I need to go look at what it's outputting for us, but it's going to output some things, and then we're going to go and compare those to kind of what we know about the system. So why do we care? What is the process for STIG compliance? Now, look, you can have any number of these. You can do this any way you want. The way I do it is I scan to get the current score, modify the system in some way, right? Modify the system in some way. Rescan to get the new score. Now, part of this, and we could discuss whether it goes before or after, but I would say in here, test functionality. One of the STIG scan things, if you just go and blanket apply every STIG request, everything that's there, if you just go blanket run it, it will remove GSS proxy. When it removes GSS proxy, one of the things that's dependent on it is NFS server and NFS client, and it'll pull those out of your system. Now, if your system was running an NFS server and that stuff got pulled out, you are now no longer running an NFS server. Or if you were an NFS client mounting NFS from somewhere, you're no longer doing that. So now, hold on, now you got to think about this. Are you going to, when you test your functionality, you're probably going to test, some base code runs, maybe some checks to make sure that you can hit all the systems that you thought you could hit, and you're going to have a break. Now you're going to have to decide as an organization, as a person, you're going to have to decide over here. Now I'm using an example of Red Hat here, but we can pull up the one for that. Let's go to NFS, and it says right here, remove NFS utils if you're not using them. But one of them right here will be. Let's do this one. Let's get rid of this one. Just do GSS. Yeah, remove GSS proxy, and when you remove that, it'll remove NFS from a box. So you don't want to do that. So you got to think about that. And these are the kind of things that nobody tells you this. You just figure this out as you run it, right? So let's go look at the scan real quick. So we're gonna go root SCC, and then it says sessions 2025. This is gonna be our results file here. And I just wanted to make sure, for me, here's my XCCDF results. Okay, so I do have the results here on this box. I needed to check that because I wanted to make sure that I was going to have the ability to score this and look at this on my home lab one. But okay, that's fine. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a web server here. And one of these, if you noticed up here, was actually an HTML. So there was right here. There was all settings canonical right here, right? So we're going to take this, we're going to take this value right here, and we are going to turn this into a web server, and then we're going to verify that we can read. Oh, what's going on here? We're going to verify that we can read that tool. Oh, geez. Well, apparently, my mouse has decided to just shit itself because this is not great. I have no idea what's going on here. Ranger's good. Alright. Get over here, you piece of junk. Alright. Screw it. We don't need to see that other screen anymore. I literally don't know what was going on there. So we're gonna do all that crap again. I have no idea why that was stuck like that. That was weird. All right, be quick this time because I'm not going to talk through it. Run it, download it, unzip it, go in there, unpackage it, make it a little bigger so you guys can see it. CD over there, config it. Do our config steps again real quick. By the way, we do this in the next lab too, so it's a good practice to see it again. We're going to say 1, get rid of 1 and 3, 0, 6. We're going to set scanning options, and 1 is going to be turned on, 0, and then 0, and then 9, right? Those are all the steps. We're going to let scan real quick. It's going to output to that folder again like we saw, or we expected. And then when it gets all done, then we'll go to the next part here. So it says when it's good, we'll get ready to head to the next part of the lab. So it's successful, and it says set up the system so that you can use a web browser to view the STIG report at a very high level. So when this is done, we're going to install an Apache server. We're going to copy this result file. And then we're going to, actually we're going to CD in there, and then we're going to copy that results file into our index.html, and then we'll go check on it, and we'll make sure that it works. So this is a way to do that initial scan, right? I will, in future labs, I have to set up how you're going to modify it or fix it, and then retest it, and then we would rescan the same way as our original scan here, right? And let's go over here. Thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are just doing some STIG reporting on our boxes to see where our 2004 box comes out of the blue. Like what is this thing set for? And by the way, our original score is 13%, so that's not very high, guys. That's not very good at all. But let's CD down to root SCC, and then we can go look sessions. And then there we go. So I am going to CD in there. I'm going to copy this file. Oh, I didn't run my Apache. That's my own fault. Build Apache. You got to install it. You're not going to have that directory if you don't install Apache. Getting a little ahead of myself. Copy that all over there. And then we'll go look at it. This is our actual STIG benchmark for our canonical Ubuntu 2004 LTS STIG SCAP benchmark. Here's what we did well and what we did not do well. So here's information about our system, how it was run, all that kind of stuff. We can see, information about the system, if there's a notice on it. A portion of this were developed at these different places, and then they talk about which ones were the original version and then what came later. And then here is our Cat 1. Remember I said those Cat 1s need to be dealt with. Well, here's the ones that failed. Here's the ones that did not pass or fail. They're manual checks. We need to go manually check them. Then here's all of our failed medium severity ones. We'll go look at that next. And then we would go look at those. And then there's the manual checks. Again, neither passed nor failed. And then here's all of our low ones. And basically we failed everything. I don't even see, did we even pass anything? Oh, we had some passes, right? But we can go look at what the passes were. We can see how they passed, what the actual check was. So here's the fixed text. If you needed to check, fix it, here would be your fix. And then here's our tests. Here's what was actually tested and the output of those tests, right? So there we go. And you can go look through all of these. We're not going to do that right now. We just really wanted to see, brutal, right? That's a brutal score if you're shooting for 80. Now you got to figure out how to get that score up to where you want it to be, right? And I think I have, we're working on a different set of these for the home lab here because we're doing the Rocky 9 4. So we'll look at those. Hold on, how's the Ranger doing? Still hasn't moved. We'll check on these on Rocky, and then we'll actually bring them into my STIG tool, my STIG viewer. So, all right, so all this is to show you guys that you can go and you can pull information out of the system. What is your score out of the box? It was 13. I don't know what we'll take whatever we can get. It was 13.76%. So we would try to remediate these to get them up to a higher score. Again, we got to remediate these ones. So what's this first one? The Ubuntu operating system must map the authenticated identity to a user or group account for PKI-based authentication. All right. So what's failed here? What's our failure state on the system? It says right here that we could fix it by use mappers equals PWENT in this file. But it says right now this file is not set correctly for us. So let's go look at it. We're root, right? We do whatever we want. Cat, that file. Etsy, Pam. All right, that's interesting. It says if the system is missing that directory, we have to make it. So that doesn't even exist on the system. This has failed because it doesn't even exist. So it wants us to actually put that there on the system. Etsy, Pam, PKS. Now, it's interesting to me because if we just went and made this file, right? If we just made this PKCS11, right? And then we CD'd in there, right? And then we went to just VI Pam. This isn't going to be mapped to anything in our system, so it doesn't really matter that we add this line. But this is what they want. This would pass this check if you were to go put this in there. Now, brings up an interesting question of what we call the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Does anybody know what I mean by the letter of the law and the spirit of the law? If this goes and it passes now, but nothing in our system is actually configured to run that or look at that, it would pass the letter of the law. But would it be actually any more secure than, yeah, what it says versus what it's meant? That's exactly right. Yeah. So the letter is being passed right now. We just fixed that. If I rescan it, we should be good. But does that actually fix it? By the way, we could do that real quick. Let's just go here. Let's CD to root, SCC, CD to sessions, RM-RF on everything. Just get rid of all of it. And then let's just go rerun our scan real quick. We'll just rerun our config, our whole scan. We can run it without the config, but I'm just going to say, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hit 9 and just let it scan again. Let's make sure, yep, that's still good. Okay, scan. So we'll let it rescan and then we'll go look at the new scan by redoing this. There's only going to be one session now this time. And then we'll copy that one session result into, we're going to write over it. And then let's see, did we go higher than 13.76 because we fixed that one thing? And the answer is, well, it should. It should. But again, is that really good? Hey, Johnny man, how's it going? We're just kind of hanging out right now. I'm talking shop with you guys. I got a little bit of time before the wife comes home. And actually, let's see. What? I'm checking with the wife saying, what would be fast if you got me food? Because she wants to maybe grab me food on the way home. So, all right, let's let this finish up. Should be nearing the end. And we'll just go see, did it fix that one thing? Because we fixed what it says it was checking. It didn't check that anything was using that. It didn't check for a package that was there. It just checked if that thing was there. Nope, it still says 1376. So let's go. Let's run this. Let's run this. And let's rerun this. And we definitely copied this one. Hey, Bedless Blade over on the YouTube side. How's it going? So we had a false on Etsy Pam PKS11. Pam PKS11. Let's see if I did that right. PKCS11. Pam PKCS11.conf. Use underscore mappers. Where's it at? Where's it at? At the beginning, use mappers. At least one. No items were collected, so the result is false. Well, PWENT. It looks to me it doesn't look to me like it did anything with this. Let's see, Pam underscore PKCS11. Yep. There's no permissions that it says. Oh, sorry guys, I'm yawning over here. File path must be equal to that. We see that. Pattern must use mappers. Any of number spaces equals, and then a space. I think they want a space in there. I think they want a space. I think some places some need that. Let's try the let's see if it'll just run the scan again for us. We didn't do the config, so it should just run the scan again. We'll see. Yeah, it should just run the scan like we told it to. Okay. Bedless said, good. How about you? Just remembered someone earlier. They told me Ubuntu took months to set. I wouldn't say so. I would say any OS to set up properly. Like if you want to account for properly in an organization, right? Like you're bringing in a brand new OS, and you got to pass like security standards. It's got to pass all the functional tests and non-functional tests. I would say bringing in a new operating system, like if we're going from RHEL 8 to RHEL 9 in an organization, I would say that bringing in of RHEL 9 between like the time that it takes to get it in the door, like download it and in the door, and then all the way to maybe you going and having it like run production workloads. Shooting, I would say in like a normal, like pretty organized company, that's probably about a month. And you say, really? That seems like a really long time. Can't I just download it and run it? Yeah, you can download it and run it and probably get in your dev environment and get some guys using it. That's fine, right? Like that part of it's good. But for me to like productionalize it and get security to be okay with it, and then to get the management teams to check off on it, and then to get it as part of like my pipeline for build process through maybe like if I have a separate team that maybe manages. There's going to be some coordination, some meetings and stuff on that. Yeah. Just like if you ever watch somebody try to go to the cloud. Cloud's easy. You push 3 buttons and be in the cloud. In fact, that's one of the things that AWS talks about. Hector, thanks for the bits. I appreciate that. Keeps me motivated over here. Keeps Ranger in treats, as we like to say. So Ranger gets to have treats and stuff. I'm just kidding. I'd give him treats even if you guys didn't give bits. But where I'm going with that, though, is there's a significant amount of stuff that kind of has to go into like really productionalizing an OS. We don't just like downloading an ISO and turning a box on, couple minutes, but productionalizing something and making it, you know, we call it the platform team because it's stability, right? Like I don't want your app to land over here and tilt it over this way. You guys ever see that game, like what's the game, Fall Guys? And people are running and they step on something that starts to go over this way and 3 people get on it and it falls over and they all go falling off the map or whatever. I think that's Fall Guys. You race like 100 people at once and you're all like knocking each other off of crap and stuff. Well, it's the same kind of idea. All right, let's do this. We copy. Well, this is the CD and the copy. And then we go look. So now this is the old one here. This one's no good anymore. Let's go look at the new one real quick. This is the new one. Still 13.7.6. What are we failing on? You know, like what is that check looking for? It's definitely there. It says what the fix is. It says use that. It actually gives us use mappers just like that. So, I mean, I changed it to the other one. It still didn't work. But yeah, that's that one doesn't want to pass. I don't know. All must be true. Does not include null before. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Hot take. Whenever it doesn't work, format install. Fair enough. All right, so, but the point is, that one aside, you learned the first part of this, which is to scan and get the score. We tried to modify it a little bit, but it didn't work, so we're not really too worried about that. But what's our system score out of the box? Not super great. So that was the first lab, and that one's actually funny because we're going to contrast that one to the next lab, and the next lab we're going to do the same thing but with Firefox instead. So makes sense. My dinner's ready. Yeah, take care, Bedless. You're always welcome to hang out. Let me go down here, and we're now going to do a Firefox STIG reporter. Yeah, this is going to be fun. If any of you have been around for stigging Firefox, well, if you want to run it in your government system, you might have to STIG it. I would tell you most people are probably right when they say go ahead and just take it off. I've never STIGged this professionally. I just did it because it was a very easy piece of software to show you guys. But this is the same thing, same exact wording as before. Your team has decided they need to integrate with a government system. There's a security requirement that you are like at least this hardened on your system. Your Firefox browsers need to be STIGged, right? Your first task is to identify what your score is, and then you can use that to plan a course of action going forward, right? So we'll download and install the SCC tool. We'll install a Firefox browser. We'll run the tool for Firefox, and then we'll verify the output. So same thing as before. Make the directory, download that Firefox tool, unzip it, CD into that directory, and then install this is actually the same SCC tool that you did in the other lab. But now we're going to turn off the 2 OS ones. We don't care about the OS for this one. We now care about the Firefox tool, right? Oh, whoops, before I do that, let's install Firefox. Before you go scanning, let's make sure we have Firefox on the box, right? Let's do that real quick. So, all right. We'll still be in there. We'll get that part going. All right. So we got this, and we're going to set the same way as we did before. Now, the tooling is designed to find Ubuntu 18 or Ubuntu 20, but we're explicitly telling it. So this is one of the things I tell you guys too. Like, and some of you guys probably you hear me and you're like, oh man, that guy's like he's like got an iron fist and he's kind of like being a jerk as an engineer. Part of being an engineer, I think, part of being a good engineer is kind of being a little bit of a jerk in that if my name is going to be stamped to a thing. Like if you're going to tell me, Scott, you're responsible for these 20 systems, and I go, okay, I'm responsible for the uptime on those 20 systems. And then you come back the next day and you go, Scott, by the way, you got to give like 100 different devs root on those boxes. I would be like, you find yourself a new admission. I can't do it. I can't just give everybody else root and still be the guy responsible. I can't do it. It'd be like if you were like, hey, Scott, that pool gate right there in the apartment complex, that pool gate, that's on you to keep all the kids in the apartment safe. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I got the only key, right? And they're like, no. In fact, there's no key. There's a little gate at the bottom that kids can just push in. You just need to keep it safe. And I'd be like, hell no, I can't do that. I couldn't keep the gate. Does that make sense? Like, and I know that's a bit crazy, but it's the idea that like we have to be a little controlled. So where I'm going with that is sometimes when we configure tools like I'm about to do, I am specifically saying don't do 1 and don't do 2 because it might have done 2 right here. This is an Ubuntu 2004 system. So I don't want it scanning either of those. I just want to do the Firefox this time, if that makes sense. So I'm like explicitly telling the tool how to behave. And then I'm going to come over here in the configure options and the scanning options, and I'm going to say number 1 should be set. Always run this tool no matter what. Always run the things that I said to run. So whereas if you leave the things at default, you're allowing the system to be ambiguous about it. What if this system this time just happened to choose Ubuntu 2004? What if it happened to choose Firefox? I'm not giving it that option. I took 2 away, I gave it 1 option, and I force it to run it. Now, it could just break everywhere and say, Scott, you don't have Firefox, you're an idiot. That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with a program telling me I'm dumb. What I'm not fine with is behavior I don't understand coming out of systems. Does that hopefully that makes sense. Like when a firewall says I need to open or when a client says I need to open a firewall for Google, and it's like 144K IPs across like 40. Yeah, crash. Yeah, look, there's different ways, I guess, that things happen, but let's just say for now we're explicitly telling the tool what to do. That's what's going on here. By the way, I'm going to leave this here and come down here. Did I give you guys that new lab? I went to the new lab, but I don't think I gave you guys the new lab. Here's the new lab in case you guys missed it. So if anybody wants to do it with me, it's free down in down in the system. All right, this is going to be lab, what are we up to, 9 now? All right, we've been doing a bunch of labs, right? And we're going to save it. And then where do we download STIGs from? And the place that we get our STIGs are going to be this DOD whatever that file is, right? WP content. And then whatever the name of our tool is, right? That's fine. That's good enough for government work, as it were. Why do we set the scanner to exactly the tool we want to scan? And that is so we can control the behavior, right? We're not like Austin Powers over here saying, oh, behave. We're forcing the tool to behave. That reference is 96. Let's see. That is almost a 30-year-old reference now. The original Austin Powers, right? Oh, behave. Um, I was in high school when that came out. I think part 2 might have came out. Oh, Michael Myers, yeah. Oh, Austin Powers was super weird. Yeah. That it was made as a comedy, so it was that was part of it. Um, so we're scanning this. We're looking at the output of it, and does anybody here remember? Anybody here that's been here before? Probably on the Twitch side. I don't know if anybody from YouTube would have seen me do this before. Does anybody here remember what is the original? What is the what is the score? What is the SCAP score of Firefox out of the box? It's got 34 total things that it's gonna do, right? It's got 34 things that it's scanning. How many of those are gonna be set? Yeah, let's check here real quick. All right, so we set that. That was all part of what I set it up to be. We're gonna go over here. We're gonna give Apache 2 the ability to serve a web page from the server, right? That's something that's needed so that we can look at this. We could download it to our box. When I first set up the lab, I was like, we'll download it and show them how to. Let's look at it on the box. So we're gonna CD in there. We're gonna copy it all, and then we're just gonna pop it up. And yeah, the score out of the box is a big fat 0. So what is the SCAP score out of the box? 0%. So I always ask you guys this question, like literally every time. If we know how to remediate, and we know the score, or we know the vulnerabilities and best practices. So if we know that, then why do we not always set them out of the box? So what I'm saying here is Firefox just setting us up for failure? Or is there a reason, when we go to look at these, I think it'll be apparent, but if we know, like, if I knew that I could make your car 100% safe, like you can't possibly die, even if you go 160 miles an hour and you crash that car, you will not die. And you say, well, Scott, that would be awesome. How do you do it? And I go, well, every time we get you in that car, we're going to fill it with this foam, and this foam's going to harden. Did anybody here ever see, this is also a 90s reference, the movie Demolition Man? And when the cars crash, this foam goes everywhere to protect you, and then you like have to break out of the foam to get out. Well, what if I told you I can make that car 100% safe? You can crash into anything. You can go like Grand Theft Auto off the side of a building. But but then I gotta wrap you. I gotta put you in that foam, right? That toxic foam. Well, you'd be like, well, that's kind of tedious, Scott. It takes you about an hour when I sit in my car to get all set up. I really just wanted to go buy a candy bar at the store. And I'm like, well, it's an hour in and it's an hour out. You don't have to get out at the store, do you? Well, that's another hour in, hour out. So it's a 4-hour process now for you to get to the store and get your candy bar and get back. In fact, I might argue that you should buy 2 and eat one at the store before we package you back in here and then go, right? Yeah, it's always a trade-off. Guys, this is 100% of the time a fact. You are trading off security versus productivity. And the old saying is security is the enemy of productivity. And that's not to say that security is bad. That was a good movie with Snipes. So James over on YouTube said it was good. And I was telling the wife about it the other day, and I'm like, I'm not going to spoil a 30-year-old movie for anybody, am I? Is anybody here planning on watching Demolition Man tonight? It's Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone, if you haven't seen it. It's a great movie for what it is. But suffice it to say, 2 people get put on cryogenics and then frozen to the future for crimes. One was a cop and one was a criminal. Yeah, right? But what happened was the cop was put on this like rehabilitation program. So he knows how to knit and do all kinds of like fuzzy, weak stuff. Like, I guess if you want to think of it like non-manly stuff. And Wesley Snipes comes out and he's been like trained on hacking and all this stuff, because he goes to the very first thing he does is he decides to rob an ATM, and he goes over and he's just like typing. He's like, what are my fingers doing? I don't even know. And like money's flying out of the machine and stuff because he like learned how to hack and everything while he was. Demolition Man is a really good movie if you guys haven't seen it. It's a great movie for what it is, for sure. But just the fact that like he got trained while he was under ice for 30 years or whatever. And Sylvester Stallone instead got trained in like some other, yeah, he got trained in like, he's like, why do my fingers want to knit so bad? And he's like swearing. When he swears at the police station, it fines him in real time. Like every time you swear, it just fines and gives you a ticket. It's so funny. It's so funny. And then he comes out of the bathroom and he's like, I didn't know how to use the seashells. And the one guy's like, his guy doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells. It's funny. Yeah, he can't find the toilet paper. Yeah. He uses the tickets to wipe his ass. That is really funny. That is peak 90s. I would say that's one of those like must watch type movies. Hey Ewo, how's it going? We are showing how bad, but real quick, when we come down here, expensive toilet paper. Yeah, he didn't intend to pay him. But here's some automated checks. Here's Firefox must be configured to only allow TLS 1.2 and above. But look, I mean, maybe some website hasn't stepped into 2017 yet, right? Because that's when TLS 1.2 was completely deprecated off the internet. So I don't know, maybe you're trying to run on something older, and Firefox must be configured to only allow TLS 1.2 and above, right? The VR sex was pretty. That was weird too. Yeah. So you guys have to watch it for that kind of stuff. I can't talk about it on a family-friendly stream here, right? But yeah, we got to turn all these things off. Yeah, and then Idiocracy. Yeah, I like money. It's one of my favorite lines from that movie. I like money. So there's only 34, but it fantastically fails every one of them, guys, which I just think is hilarious. So how do we remediate them? Why? So it's because there is trade-off of functionality, and so if there's a trade-off of functionality and security, just I want you guys to think about this for a second, right? You know, we got 13 people on YouTube, 26 people over on Twitch. Maybe a few people are paying attention, and I'm not just background noise. But think about this real quick. You set your parents or your grandparents up with a system, and you're like, hey, I'm going to put this Firefox browser on there because I know by having Firefox, they're not going to get maybe some of the normal attacks that come in through Edge or whatever, right? And you're not going to put them all the way down on Linux as a desktop because that's a bit much, but you're going to put them over on like Firefox, right? So the attacks that come in on Chrome and Edge, they're not going to get them because Firefox is a different system and it treats the web a little differently, and maybe in your estimation it's a little more secure. But then it comes out of the box and it's all of this stuff. It configured to block all pop-up windows are out. Not going to ever configure a password for your grandma. Never going to have form fills to remember anything. All of these things that like people take for granted, would you do that for your parents or your grandparents if you knew that you were going to get like 3 calls a week from them on like, hey, how do I do that thing again for DNS over HTTPS? I don't remember that thing that keeps popping up, right? Like if that's the case, you would probably just be like, shit, I'm putting them back on Chrome and never having to worry about this again, right? Like I love you, but I can't take 4 calls a week about this. Does that kind of make sense, right? Like, again, you know, you're not trying to like jam your family up or anything. So if these were all on and we, you know, secured grandma's or Meemaw's or whatever you want to call her's computer, then the problem is it's also not going to be useful for them. So you got to, there's a trade-off, and this is the trade-off I always talk about in systems, right? Scan, modify the system, make sure you still have the functionality that you want, and then rescan. The one thing that I told you guys, I was talking about this earlier, for some of you guys, I have never, ever gotten this, I've never had this one pass in a RHEL system ever. In all my years of stigging and securing systems, removing GSS proxy pulls out NFS. Your NFS client will be gone. Well, I mean, I use NFS, right? Like we mount NFS in an environment a lot of times. I mean, even if you say, well, Scott, don't you do a lot of like these big parallel file systems? Yeah, but back to the head node, I still typically have some kind of NFS to be able to grab configs and stuff. Super convenient. Like just kind of like this lightweight protocol that because here's the thing, right? Let's say you've got to take the cluster down for maintenance, or there's a power there's a power event and you've been running on diesel, and they're like, this is a good time to just take everything down and bring it back up when the power gets restored or whatever. And you're like, okay, we do that once a year, a full power down, power up procedure. And while you're waiting for the big cluster, Gluster, well, Gluster's less used, but let's say Ceph or Luster, or not Gluster, but Luster this time, and then Ceph or GPFS, I'm waiting for that to come up before I can get my nodes up. Well, that's stupid. Like, I want to be able to bring those nodes up based off just the head node being up and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. From NFS to HTTP. Yeah, well, so, yeah, the NFS is the persistent mounted file share, right? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could use HTTP. Now, but here's the thing. In government systems, if you do that, now you have to secure your Apache or your... I guess if you're using Nginx, you'd have to just do that. But there are STIGs for all of those as well. These are the STIGs that I tend to work on right here, right? And if you're running Apache as like a, let's say you're running Apache for your repo management inside of your own local system, now you've got to create a checklist from these ones. Now you've got this new checklist. Now you got 47 things you got to go secure on your Apache system. You got to do it every time, right? So we'll close without saving. All right, I still have this one up because we started out a little project as we started this whole thing. So so this is done on my box. All right, so I don't know exactly when it. 23:20. When did we say it started? So it finished at 22:34, and it had started at 21:52. So that's 8, and so it was about 42 minutes. Yeah, took about 42 minutes, and this did not get a very good score out of the box. This got a 36.63. Guys, that's not great, but we want to analyze this in my home lab, right? Like, we want to get this. So let's see if I can we want the most recent one. So this one. Whoops. Right click. And then we got results, SCAP, and then XML, right? So here's my XML XCCDF results right here. So I want to move this down in such a way that then I can import it into my STIG viewer here, and I should be able to import, a results file, right? So let's go see if I can do that real quick, right? So I've got this out on Rocky. This is way over here, root. So on Rocky 18, way down in this directory, I've got this file that I want, right? So let's go over here, back to my main jump box, and let's just CD to like data real quick. Let's CD to temp. That's fine. Got nothing really going on in temp. I'm gonna SCP from Rocky 18, that path, that file. So the file is right here, right? There's my file, right? I'm going to SCP that to here. Do I need... Oh, got to do another jump first. Hold on. So, SH2 werewolf. And then maybe that password. Oh, I think I did this for security reasons. I think I did. Well, you know what? It's funny. I have the cluster key, so screw it. screw it. We'll just grab it. I forgot I had. Yeah, I don't know, but I have it now. So now right here, here's this Rocky. But let's go look at. He is not readable, so we're gonna chmod 644 to that Rocky system or that Rocky file, and now it's readable by anybody that can get to the system and pull Rocky down. So now we're going to do something that I think this is an underrated skill, but I do think this is a skill you need as a Linux admin, because you may not be on a Linux server. You may be working on a company desktop, which may be Windows. So I may go to my downloads folder here, and then I may say pscp.exe, some tool I use. You can also use SCP nowadays, but I use this, and I'm going to say from, we'll say schampine at, that's my user on my system, 192.168.11.245, which is that box, temp, Rocky, and now I don't need to know everything, because it's a unique name, to here, and then I need to know my password. Now I can pull that file down to here. So now if I come here and I say xccdf results and I go grab this, it's fine. I am fine with that. I am okay with that. Now it says that these are all my results. 49 out of 40. Okay. So now we see all of the findings from that scan against the system. So let's go look at them real quick, right? So there's a bunch of ways that we can look at this. We can say all the open ones here, right? And down here, I like to open this up a little bit, and I like to open this up a little bit. So the SCC tool had this one as a fail. Grub does not have a password, so this has to be open. But let's keep going a little bit. Let's see if we can find one. They're ordered by if they passed or failed. So let's go look at some of the ones that were not a finding because they passed. So this one passed at this time, and the reason it passed should have been because journal D was on, right? So according to this CPE tool, SCC 510.1, this finding was a pass, right? Different tools will give you different information, and I actually like some of the other tools better because some people in the security realm will look at this and go, well, I'd really like if when you did this, you showed me this. And if I cd to etc sysctl.d, and then we grept for kernel, right? From anything, you could show me that kernel kptr underscore restrict 1 was set. kptr, I don't even see that. I don't even see that in there. But it says that this one was a pass, but I don't see this in that box. That's weird that that one would have passed because it looks like that should have failed. Let's see, CTL KPTR. Now, here's the thing. It may have passed out here though. Watch sysctl CTL TL -A. See, that's another one that kind of pisses you off. Out here, so this is how I would prove. Let's say that the tool said it failed, or if this was a manual check, I would come over here and I would drop this in right here. So on the Rocky 18 system, which is the target system that I'm on, so they can validate that, they can see that that was good, and I would say manually verified that the setting is good. You know, my comments are whatever I want to impart to the ISSO, who's going to be the person reviewing this, right? That's your information system security officer. you will deal with ISSO. It's actually funny. In academia, right? So in academia, you always see PhD, after people's names. You always see doctor before their names because that matters in academia. For most of you, maybe out in the engineering world, it doesn't matter that much. It does not really matter to me if anybody has any college. It matters if they can do the work, right? Well, similar to that concept over in academia, which I'm pretty involved with that as a college professor. But over on the other side of it, when I work with government people, your ISSOs always have their CISSP, ISSM, or whatever their different versions of security certs that they have after their name, because that does matter to them. Because to be an ISSO, you actually need a bunch of those certs, which is funny because, it's funny for me because I don't have my CISSP or my CCSP or any of my other certs after my name on any of my emails. But I am, I'm talking to people that I interact with people when I do these certs or whatever, or these STIGs. So look at this one. This one was not reviewed. So what does not review mean? Yeah, take care, Linux developer. I appreciate you coming by. This one says, well, I couldn't check it. And it's checking here for if you come in on RHEL 9, you have a standard mandatory DoD consent matter before accessing the graphical user logon system. Here's the thing. This system doesn't have GNOME, not gnomes, GNOME. This system is not running, so I might say here, I might say something like this, right? Manually checked, this system is not running GNOME. There is no GUI, right? Graphical user interface. So this is not a finding. And then I would go here and I would set the status to not a finding, and then that wouldn't be something counted against my system anymore, right? But again, this system is only 36.65. I mean, that's brutal. Look at all these open ones up here. Vendor must be supported release, upgrade to a supported version. This is a fail, right? Because you are not on Red Hat. So your answer to this may be, this is a Rocky 9.4 system. The system is supported by vendor contract with CIQ, which is the company that supports Rocky Linux, right? And then you can right click this. Watch over here. See how I'm 36.65? I'm going to set this as not a finding, because this is not a finding to be on RHEL 9. You don't have, there's no requirement to be on RHEL 9. We're just going against the RHEL 9 STIGs because that's the closest to Rocky. There's no Rocky STIGs, right? So we do a finding, and then now we're at 36.9. So we went up just a little bit from wherever we were, 36 point something something. Yeah, actually I can tell you right here where we were at. We go right here and tell you where we were at. We were at 36.63, and we just got 0.27, right? Because then it jumped us up to that. And then this, and then you say, Scott, really, that's the fight? That's the thing you've got to do? Yeah, you've got to decide, do I harden this box more and get these to pass? Or do I figure out why it should be a pass and then write that up? And then your options are open, meaning you can still set them or fix them later. Not reviewed, which you do not want any not reviewed when you go to get on a government system. They can be not applicable. Not applicable is a special one. Or they can be not a finding. So not a finding would be like that one with GNOME. GNOME is not on here, so I'm not going to answer for GNOME. That would be like if you said, hey, Scott, oh, this actually, so I'll give you an example. This happened to me when I was in the Army. I had how did that happen? So anyways, so what happened was my mom got a call from Tucson. So we live in Phoenix, and then my mom got a call in Tucson. This was 1999. I'm in basic training for the U.S. Army. I'm out in Fort Benning, Georgia, which I think is Fort Moore now, but Fort Benning, Georgia, in just outside of Atlanta, right? Oh, well, a few hours from Atlanta, I think. But anyways, I'm there, and a car matching my car's description with my car's license plate. By the way, I had sold this car 3 months earlier. Got into an accident and drove away from the parking lot in Tucson, Arizona. So about 2.5 hours from here in Phoenix. And they needed to know my whereabouts. This detective wanted to know my whereabouts. So he called my mom, and she was like, he's in basic training last time I checked. And then they called over they got a hold of the information and got to my unit and said, yeah, has Scott been doing push-ups pretty much nonstop every frickin' day and road marches for like the last few months? And they're like, yeah, he's been here the whole time. And they're like, all right. I never heard anything about it ever again. But the point is, I can't answer for something. I can't answer for that. How am I going to prove? I mean, other people can prove that I was somewhere else, but like, I just wasn't there. So that's it for me. Well, it's the same idea here. Like, let's say that we weren't using SSH. And let's just say we turn off SSH in our environment. Well, the config might still be there. And they might still say, well, what about that SSH service? And you're like, I don't use SSH. We use some other tool. There's other tools that you can connect to. Some people run no SSH in an environment. There's a certain level of maturity that's required to get there, but I don't think, for the most part, like that's not like a big deal to do that. But anyway, so or I don't think a lot of organizations are going to do that. Mod D blacklist. So making sure that you're not using, what is this tool? We failed on. You're blacklisting your CramFS. We don't have CramFS on here. So I might say CramFS unused in the environment. And this is hilarious. They want you to make sure that it's not there and then blacklist it. And it's like, how about it's just not there? I remember there used to be this argument. Our security team used to get into this all the time. So I was on, when I first got over to AAA, I was in charge of the Linux team, and then my boss, Daniel, he was over the Linux team and the infrastructure team. And the infrastructure team was like 3 guys doing ESXi and storage, basically. That's what they did. And there was a separate like big data storage team. But anyways, so there was about like 9 people on our team, like six Unix, Linux admins. And then, man, I've got like this. It's really bugging me. Anyways, and they used to always get in arguments with security because security would tell them, all right, your ESXi hosts don't have SSH on, so our scanner can't scan them to see what they're vulnerable to. And they're like, well, that's good. And they're like, well, but we need you to turn on SSH so that we can check the ESXi hosts for how vulnerable they are. And they're like, we're not turning on SSH. It's considered a vulnerability. We control it a different way. If you can't scan it, it sounds real secure to me. And that was I used to listen to that argument probably at least once a month when we'd meet with security, and they'd give us kind of like what's going on in the environment, what the vulnerabilities are, what the patching levels were. And these dudes would just be arguing with these guys, and they're like, we're not turning SSH on. We don't use it. And they're like, yeah, but you need to have it so our scanner can scan. And they're like, sounds like your scanner's problem. And that was a fight that happened back and forth back then. And then, that's where the story, can I tell you guys the story about where the whole executive team on the security side got caught doing like cocaine and banging strippers with company cards. It was wild. All right, Atticus said, hi, Scott. Hope it's all is well. Quick question. You have 2 playlists on the channel, the 16-week course and one named Linux Beginners. Please advise if we can do the course ourselves. Yeah, Atticus, you can do the course yourself whenever you want. This is a good time because I haven't talked about the Discord at all. We have a Discord. You guys are welcome to hang out in there. It's free. There's a free course that we run, and we've run it once, and we're getting ready to run it again. March 22nd, we're going to start it again. The last time we had over 200 people sign up for it. I think we had about 8 or 9 pass it because there's a lot of work. It's 16 weeks. It's about 10 hours a week. But the question was, could I just do the course? Yes, everything's down here in the project section, right here in ProLUG projects. Could you just do the course and get all the knowledge out of it and be happy? Yeah, 100%. I think most people, especially if you're not working in the Linux world and you're like, what does it look like to go work Linux out in the industry and stuff? I think most of you would probably benefit from it. But if you want to do it with the group and you want to do the full, you want to go play the full game, that's going to start in March 22nd. Yep, Saturday. So you guys are welcome to be involved in that if you want. All right. Okay. So we got the checklist. We saw that this thing is fantastically bad. But now I want to check. I've got some tooling that I kind of want to play with. And let's see. I'm kind of curious what it might look like. Let's SSH up to Werewolf. Again, I don't know why this would need a password. I legitimately thought I had this keyed. Did I have a cap locks on or something? All right, there we go. First try. Weird. Like I thought I could type. All right. So, yeah, I will SSH as root in my home lab all day, but I was telling you guys that's not a good security practice. Typically, you turn that off in STIG'd environments. But this is my home lab, so I can do whatever I want in it, right? All right. More water bottles. Where are we at? Oh man, I've been talking a lot. Let me. What the hell's wrong with me? All right. How was I doing this? I was just copying over and just making sure that it was there. That's the start. Let's go play with this other thing. We're gonna go go down in here and we're gonna take, there's a tool somebody showed me that I have not used or played with before, and we're gonna see what this tool looks like. So this was our lab was fun. Lab had good information in it. I will do like I always do, and I will put these notes up in the Discord later, right? We're up through lab 9 now. We've done a whole bunch of these security type labs, but I want to pull this up real quick. Hold on, get this out of the way. There's Ranger. Ranger is turned on his bed, so that's at least good. Did that, downloaded the tool because I think that's useful for you guys to see. We did the STIG stuff. We don't need to bother about copying that anywhere. And I wanted you guys to see how that tool worked because that's part of a workflow that I think is somewhat valuable for you out there in the world. All right, so what was the name of this GitHub for STIGs? Yeah, Ansible Lockdown. Somebody sent me this or told me about this. And we're going to go look at Ansible Lockdown real quick. And we're going to go look at the STIGs for RHEL 9. So there's a RHEL 9 remediate and a RHEL 9 audit. Now, you might say, why didn't you use that audit earlier? Why did you use the SCC tool? Because the audit tool doesn't give it to you in a XCDDF format or whatever that format was. But the audit, the remediation here, should be able to remediate our system, and we'll see how much better between our two scans we get. So, I don't want any of this stuff. Okay. Let's go grab the code. So, I don't think it matters. Git clone. That guy. Pulling down, right? So rel 9, and that's yeah, remediation can break all kinds of. If you're talking like just stigging everything, you can break all kinds of crap. Yep, yep. So we're gonna see what's going on here. That's our site.yaml. Look, boom. Hosts all. So our hosts are going to be kind of interesting because we're going to vi ch roots, and we're going to ch roots, and then our ch root is going to be, oh gosh, hold on a second. Okay. There we go. That's the root fs that we want for the ch root. I know, weird. And then also need to put a closing bracket on it. Okay. So now, let's read the README. Gives us some info about it. This role will make changes to systems that may have unintended consequences. That's good. But so that's actually kind of a funny thing here. Let's do one thing real quick. wwctl containers list. Whatever. Node and nodes are good. Let's call this container copy, and we'll take this guy, and we'll call him, right, like he'll be a -stig, and then we'll add a -stig to the actual one, because we're going to stig this one, and then we're going to blow it away, and then we're going to rebuild them again. Yeah, I think a lot of Linux distros do have no SSH root. Well, most enterprise ones will still allow you to do it if you want. I think most user-focused ones automatically disable root for the most part. Yeah, for sure. But for sure, like rel still allows you to just log in as root, because a lot of people configure it like that. All right, so we're trying this. We're going to see what's going on with this. I've never used this tool, so I'm going to see if see how it works. And we're going to do it against a ch root environment, so we're not going to do it as a we're not going to do it against a live system, because the live systems are just stateless nodes. If you do something against them, they turn off and turn back on. They're back to normal. They're like Mo throwing Barney out of the tavern and then turning around and looking. He's back on the bar stool, and he's like, "How do you keep getting back in here?" That's the same thing. You turn it off, you turn it back on. He's back in the room again, right? Like you didn't actually fix anything. So we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna set this and see what it fixes on the nodes. And we were using Rocky 18 for the other one, so maybe we'll set this one with Rocky 19 after we stig it. So we did that. Let's vi our ch roots. I'm going to do $$ to go to the end, and we're going to put that right there. So now it's his root fs, right? We can ls-l it just to make sure, but it should be there. Where was that? Oh, maybe I don't know where it was. Whatever, I don't care. So I want to see. So site's just going to hit everything. We've got this. We got ch roots. Let's see what's in site.yaml again. Role is everything. Hosts is all. But I'm going to change hosts to, we're going to vi the site.yaml, and we're going to change this to the way that I like to run things, which is this. Oh, whoops. And that'll be survey hosts, right? That's how I like to run my stuff. And then let's just look at it again. So survey hosts, it'll run all the roles in the playbook dir, which should be under, I mean, I guess. Oh, they want us to. That's kind of an interesting little. Desktop kept remounting partitions while I was working on things. Yeah, yeah. I've never used. Oh, that seems weird. All right. Let's go CD to tasks. There's all our tasks in there. So, I mean, we could write our. Hold on. We could write our own. Roles should just get everything in. They want us to set the playbook? Ah. Do we set? So we're setting all of them to true, which is fine. It's also, oh, I grabbed the CIS benchmarks. That was not, I probably should have, nope, sorry. My bad, guys. We should have done the, that's CIS. I thought they had STIG. Yeah, sorry. I should have grabbed the STIG stuff. So we might be redoing some of this. Oops. So we might be doing this part, but well, that's fine. I want to see. We could just change that to run everything. I just don't know where it's getting that playbook to variable form from. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can hand it here. Like. Making sure there's nothing. Alright, so that was my fault. So that was my fault. We need this one. But it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't matter that much, so. We get them both. Who cares? All right. Copy from up in rel 9 CIS our ch roots to here, right? So now we have our ch roots file because that's where we're going to go against. And then, yeah, fuck, it'll do all. I don't care because all will still hit it. I don't know. Again, I don't know where that playbook or. mean, oh, that might be, hold on, is that a new special variable that I don't, so I don't know all the newer special variables. Yeah, well, I didn't know. So there's a bunch of special characters in Ansible, and they keep adding to them. And I did not know about playbook there. The path to the directory current playbook being executed. Okay, so that would be in here, and then it would be everything under here. So that would automatically execute. Yeah, I was like, how does it know to inherit from here? But okay, now I see that there is a playbook there. I've never used that like that before. I've always just had it assume that it was something lower. So, okay. All right, well, then I think let's see if chroots will work. Dash I chroots site.yaml. Let's see. We might, the dash C might not work. I might have to add a package. Let's see. So hold on. So there's a dash C. See if I don't know if it's built. No, it might not be directly built in. How did I do that? All. It found the host name, but it's trying to resolve it that way. Let's go check. I forget the way to do this. Chroot connect. Yeah, I don't have to do all that. Nope. It should just be inventory is normally where I do it, is against these. I shouldn't need any of those. What's it called? VI. Gee. Damn it. It's dash capital C though. I thought it was dash capital C that forced chroots, but I could be wrong on that. No, I'm definitely wrong on that. But they're using. There's a tool for this, but it's get out of here. Ah, okay. We could just set that as Ansible connection chroot, and then oh yeah, we don't need that. I guess we could just. Let's see if it's that. Although I've done this plenty of times without ever having to do this. Maybe I set chroots vars equal that right? Yeah. I think that's right. Let's see. It's still trying to connect via SSH, which we do not want it to do. We want it to just CH. All right. We'll put it over here. Maybe I have that wrong. I haven't looked at that in a while. Right? Something. What are people trying to call me? All right. This might be better. All right, so now we'll let that run nice and colorful. Now it's going to try, there's still going to be parts of this that are going to fail because it's not a real box. It's doing chroot control against that box. So we're going to see, yeah. So we're going to see things fail. Oh. All right. So this was something I was wondering about this tool. So in some of these, let's get rid of this. We don't need that anymore. Some of these, they may have a like fail when false. So we're trying to set this, right? We're trying to set this. But it's very possible that we need to either skip some of these, or we could maybe even run it with it. I don't think a -- check will work, but we could try that and see if it'll just do a check of these are all the things that I would have changed. Because we don't want it just failing because things aren't there, because there's going to be a lot of things not there in a chroot environment. You're not a fully inflated, you're not a real server. You're like a pretend server. You are not fully, you don't have all your network sockets, you don't have your services aren't turned on, system D is not on process 1, so you can't find, like you can see things, but see it's still failing. So account is not locked. So what we could do on this one is we could figure out which check this was. Sound and boot FS. And not equal to. So this is the one that's enabled, right? So let's go and just disable these to get this to run. All right. So where were those enabled or disabled? If we VI our defaults, main.yaml, and then we're going to drop that value in there. I thought it was in here. Oh gosh, that's annoying. Of course the pattern's not going to be found, guys. You did upper and lower case different. Oh 0901. I don't even see it in here. All right, so it's in main.yaml right in here. There he is. So what we can do just for now is make sure it's not anywhere else. Gonna bang Ansible, rerun it, go from there. All right, wife's here with food for me, so might take a little bit of a break here. So hopefully this stuff's kind of useful to you guys, somewhat interesting. If this is kind of valuable, I will also be probably turning this into like a lab on Killer Coda, but it'll have to be with their STIG versions for the system. Also, you would be hardening the system you're on, so you wouldn't be running in a CH root like I am. So I want to say there's like nuanced differences that'll make some of this easier or harder to kind of understand. I'm only getting through some of this because I've seen it before, done it before. Like I'm going into a CH root environment and doing the changes on a server this isn't really a server. This is a CH root for a server that's then going to be packaged up like a real boy. And we're just doing, did I do a --c? So I'm just doing a check. We're not even doing the fixes right now. So, crash systems. Random question, what's your take on a bunch of small Intel 100 NUC style boxes? Yeah, I do them. Yeah, anything. So somebody asked me the other day, like, is this a good value? And then they asked in the Discord, and there was no price, and there was no what they wanted to do. So I asked those things. I don't think I ever saw them come back, but it's like, if you tell me it's $10,000, and then you're like, I'm just going to use it for playing around in the home lab, I'm like, we do that a little cheaper online with like some stuff up in the cloud. And even if you accidentally leave it on, you're only going to be $100 a month, maybe. That's way less than $10,000. But I'm just saying, like, if those are like, let's say those things are like $50 each or $100 each, and you do like 3 of them, that's $300. Is that worth it for the next 3 years of your training at home? Sure, yeah. But do you have a lot of options with like Killer Coda, or even, we're doing this in my home lab environment. A lot of you guys that are in the Discord have access to my servers. So let me check where I'm at real quick. I'm gonna turn off my camera real quick and go check on the wife. Let me put up my little break. So hourglass, we'll say we're on a break real quick. Break and watching the lab run. And let me take a little bit longer break today, but you guys are welcome to hang out. And I'll just leave, I don't know, somebody in charge. I'll be back in a little bit. Let me go check on the wife, see how my food's doing. And that thing's still running, so you guys keep an eye on it. All right, I'm back. Oh man, it broke. What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, so this is a problem. Interestingly enough, give me a second. Stop that. That was my Chipotle burrito break. So, we can't get EPEL. So what we can do to fix this is this. So this is the one that we want to STIG. We can wwctl container exec into that one with bin bash. Now we're in the image. We're going to cd in this image to etc yum.repos.conf .d, and we're going to look there is an EPEL repo, and it says that so we had an error on EPEL-9. So EPEL source. Why do I not see? Is there an EPEL-9 in here? We'll just search for it. All right, hold on. I'll turn my camera back on, so you guys can see me. All right, let's do this. Let's do this the smart way. Grep. Didn't it say? Couldn't find EPEL-9. Well, let's look for all the EPELs. I don't see. Well, interesting. Don't see that either. Okay. Oh, interestingly enough, just for the repo EPEL. So here's what we're going to do, just to bypass this, because like this is a problem that I don't really care. I don't care about this problem at all. Not even in the least. So hopefully I didn't make anybody think I cared about it. Let's do this. So if we just grep for enabled against EPEL.repo, we're going to see this, right? So we can do this. We can say sed -I, so inline. Let's go ahead and enabled should be equals 1. Might have to escape that. And then enabled equals 0 in EPEL-repo. All right. Now if I grep enabled from there, Oh, maybe I didn't need to. Maybe I didn't need to escape it, or I needed to escape both. Nope. Maybe I didn't need to escape it at all. I don't use said that much. There we go. Huh. Enabled. Oh, search and replace, right? Shouldn't it? Oh, you guys gotta stop me. You guys gotta stop me. There we go. All right, that was my bad. Yeah. And the G would do it across all of them if I wanted to. Now, hold on. I want to do that same thing. Yeah, you're right. G, because I want to do it across all of them. I'm also going to do that against the epel-testing.repo. And I'm also going to do it against the epel-cisco because I don't even know why those are there. So now if I grep anything against any epel, we'll see that they're all zeroed out. Yeah. S and G. Yeah. I was testing you guys, and you guys all passed, so it was good. Yeah. So we got rid of all of them because, again, why? So now we're just gonna say true, so that it exited with a like that. So it exited with a good zero error code. So true, and then exit will cause the image to rebuild, the container to rebuild. So these are also the steps for kind of how you remediate things if you want to do some kind of automation like this. Here, I'll show you real quick. When this is done, you can go directly into a chroot environment and modify things yourself, but then the goal is to get this to a point where just the playbook just runs. Once it's set, you don't ever have to go do it again. You've stigged your image, now you've got it to the part you want. But then we're back to this part, which is now we've done the modification. Now we want to test it again by starting it up, booting the machine, make sure it works, and then we rescan to be hopefully higher than what were we down here? Like on the server that we finished, I think when we finished it was it took 42 minutes when we did it. But what was it? It was like 36 and some change was the score. And then now we're trying to beat that, right? So this is how you exec into a container in Rocky. This is the Ansible playbook to just check. I'm going to take the check off because I actually want it to fix things. I'm going to let this thing fix things. So we're gonna actually let that try to make some changes in there and see what happens. So we are hardening a Linux box. We are hardening a container image that is going to become Linux servers in my Werewolf environment, right? And the names get kind of long when I'm stigging things, but then I can shorten the names back down later if I want to, right? The names do not have to remain long like they are right now. All right, so now, by the way, it's doing okay and then skipping, but you should also see where it does change things now because we're not just doing check anymore. So lots of colorful things, right? If it fails, it'll tell us where it failed, and then we can go figure out. rootfs failed. Crypto policy. Oh, that's weird. Device not available. So this is going to be one of those things that's not going to be available because it is a chroot environment. It's not its own server. This is just after, so it's the setup crypto policy. So we're still in the prelim part too. We're not even dropped down into, so tasks. This is still in the prelim. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to be able to really do anything with this. Setting facts for Ansible _mounts. because there's no mounts. So I mean that makes sense, I guess. So this was failing right here though. So I'm going to comment this out. We already got well, we don't have an original of this one, but that's fine. I'm not really too worried about it. Again, we want it to run. Okay. Also, I guess alternatively, I could have went and found that one and removed it. So then it would still run all by default. But all right. We really should just add this to this. And you might say, Scott, that seems a bit onerous, but that's fine because then I can go fix stuff without having to worry about being back in this directory when I rerun it. It'll just always be the full path. That's a quality of life issue. You don't have to do it if you don't want. But that was good. So I've had dinner. The wife is going to... Where was she going? She was going to do something. Well, she'll be back. She'll be back a little later, so... I got a little time to stream tonight. So let's see. Let's see if we can get past some of that other stuff, or if we need to. Obviously, again, we could have to do it again. I expect this process in a system to take a while. Here we go. Prelim, create a list of mount points. Yeah. So error was Ansible mounts is undefined. Makes sense. We don't have any mount points. So what we might do is CD back in here. We might VI that prelim again, and then right here, we're going to comment this out, same as before. But then we're going to go forward and look for Ansible underscore mounts, right? Or mount underscore names. Because if we need that anywhere, we're not going to be able to use it anyways, so that's fine. Let's run it again. See how far we get. We're probably going to be doing this. Whoops. Oh, you got to do the same thing for that too. Excuse me. That makes sense. If you're going to do what I just did, you have to also do it for this. Here we go. Now that'll work from anywhere. Quality of life. All right. Doesn't really matter why that's funny to me, but that is funny. I may be doing this on some Linux boxes for a customer. So part of this is, I don't know, I probably won't use this. I'll use the open, there's a different STIG generator that you can use from OpenSCAP Workbench. And I tend to find that it works, well, so far it's worked a little better than this one, but in general, this is not so bad yet. We'll see how far down we get before it fails again, but oh, there we go. Failed. When would you use Ansible? I've never used Ansible Runner in my life over on YouTube side. I don't even know what Ansible Runner is. I've never used it. So, I don't know. GPG. Well, so that's annoying. It failed, but I don't have a variable for GPG key package. So I'm just going to say also get out of here. Skip it. All right. Now, it should be able to build packages. So like if audit D is not there, it should be able to install this, and it should be able to start running through this other stuff, I hope. That's what I hope. We'll see. We'll see. It should. Oh, I also normally throw time on the front of this just so we can see the time and that kind of stuff. But while that's running, let me go look this up. I've never used Ansible Runner. I don't know what that is. Never used it. Oh, I like that. So it's like the part of Ansible AWX without having to have all the rest of it up. It's funny, they say there's 3 primary ways of interacting and they only tell you 2. That's pretty funny. Maybe they're saying this is the other way. Status. I don't know. I guess, I mean, it looks like it's just another way to interact with Ansible. I haven't used it before. Oh, yeah. We're going to have random device. Yeah, we might have to get rid of... Could have sworn that just said random. So anyways, guys, this is a way you could do this, right? Takes a little bit of time, but then once you have this kind of cleaned up the way you want, you can run it against any of your servers anytime. I swear that said some kind of random device was where it failed. Funny, I haven't actually seen this change anything yet. So let's see if this will actually change something here. We got to get past some of these prelim things and get it to where it's actually down in the STIG packages. So we're still just on the prelims. Then there's STIG. There's the checklist 1, 2, and 3 type STIGs. So it looks like it's finding things. It's pointing at the right location. But so why is audit D? So why, hold on. Let's check something here. When I go back here in my system, right, and I'm in that box, I could do DNF install audit D. This should work. I'm not going to do it right now in here. I'm going to let this do it. Oh, hold on a second. DNF what provides will tell us audit. Oh, just audit. I'm curious about something here. So the package. Second here. Put the music just a little bit higher so you guys can at least hear it. There we go. You guys hear that? It's like 5%. I think that's pretty low. All right, hold on. So that's there. Exit, because it's good, so it should clean all. Should add the packages, but hold on. It didn't have it Ansible _ facts.packages. So it's possible. Let's go look. Let's make sure I didn't comment out where we were gathering packages. I don't think I did, but. All right. All right. We got here. Got a container image being rebuilt. That's good. That's all working. Now we're going to go try to get our Ansible to go a little further. But I'm curious why, you know, this was failing when we go up. All right, so I think that'll run. Well, at least it'll run to the next problem. Let's see. Let's find chill. 102 hours of chill music on Pretzel Rocks. Let's see how that sounds. All right. So, anybody that got here late, we are jumped into our werewolf environment. We're doing some Ansible. We're testing out this remediation package from the Ansible lockdown. And we're seeing how well it works, not on an actual server that's running, but down in a chroot jail, which is a different environment than a real server environment. It definitely has gotten further. Let's see. It's doing the system accounting for audit D. I'm just curious if it's going to fail anywhere still. Seems like it's a bit long for a package that's there, because that package is now installed on that box. So it doesn't seem like this would have to. Oh wait, unless. No. We built it. When we left it, it built the container. I was going to say, unless we weren't building the container, because there's in Werewolf there's also container build, and you have to run that if you manually go down in and change something. But I'm not going down in and changing stuff directly in the file system. I'm actually doing it through the tool. So that was rebuilding each time. So that wasn't it. This is a long time to sit here on this one tool, so that's kind of weird. I'm kind of wondering why this is sitting here like this. I don't think I hit enter or anything on it, so. I wonder how close this Ansible runner is to. Some of you guys keep telling me about Ansible Molecule, so. And you guys have told me about this and how you would run this. So, but I haven't played with this though. Hey Vortex, how's it going? We are just hanging out and walking through some. We're doing Ansible tonight. Well, we're doing security. We're doing security in general, and then we were looking at this markdown lockdown tool, not markdown, lockdown tool. Oh gosh, guys. So, you want to see a little werewolf proclivity? This is actually really dumb. Now that I'm seeing this on like the fourth time now. Oh god, I'm dumb, guys. Okay, so werewolf. Watch this real quick. Not here. Here. There's a node that's up. Right? And if I were to cat etsy resolve.conf, he would have this stuff that was generated by Werewolf, specifically this one thing that I need, which is the name server. But that got generated by Werewolf and put down in a system overlay when this system came up. Watch this. Over here, I bet you if I cat etsy resolve .conf. It is there. Oh, that's interesting. It is there. Because I was gonna say he wasn't. I was betting that it wasn't there, and it couldn't find the system. But we're gonna VI just for fun. And oops. What? The hell? Oh, I mean I can't write to that. I'm the root. All right. Well, now you guys get to see this other thing. So let's just say false exit. We're not changing anything. And then history, grep-i, werewolf. It should only be a few of these. Oh, where? Oh, cd var lib werewolf chroots rocky lab. rootfs etc. That doesn't even make sense. Vortex, it pops up on the other side. Student does something on the Twitch side. Why has that been shown? Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't have it set up on YouTube. I could set it up on YouTube. I just haven't done it. If you do student on the Twitch side, it says pull up a chair or something. So then let's go back to where we were. WCTL container build. So we modified it right in the command, right in the actual chroot, directly in the file path there. It's not the way you would normally do that, but screw it. For some reason, excuse me, it's using the wrong thing. It doesn't have the right info for the chroot, and that's why it can't get out. That's why it can't get out over there. Complete new viewer. Yeah, Vortex, we're just hanging out right now, working on the lab environment. We did some labs earlier for, how's Ranger doing? Whoa, sun's coming right down in the camera. Here's, we were doing labs earlier and just going through stuff. And then what we're doing here is we're setting up the home lab environment to STIG the image for one of our Rocky boxes. That's all we're doing. So this is a clustering tool called Werewolf, and we're using Rocky Linux on it, and then we're stigging it over here. So over here we're just checking on, these are a bunch of labs that we did the last few days. So didn't miss anything. That's all we've done so far. Oh man, still not able to get that package, and now it can't get to the base OS 9. But again, when we go in there, that's bugging me. It's totally different here than what it is even in there. But that finds the base OS. So why can why can it not excuse me, in there? I guess what we could do is try to find huh. Let's do something here. This is gonna bug me. Let's just wish I could spell. Name is going to be gather and we're just going to shell cat etcresolve.conf. We're going to throw it in a variable. And then we're going to come back here. I just want to see what the I just want to see what the state of that is. Is it because we're running in damn check mode? Oh my gosh. It's my bad. It's my bad, guys. 8.8.8.8's fine. Oh god, you guys gotta stop me. I was running that in check mode that whole time. Maybe it's lowercase c and then chroot is the connect type. That might be what I was messing. I knew I was messing something up there, but let's see. It's all prelim, so this shouldn't really be changing anything anyways, but I think it was making sure that those tools are there. So now it got into, no, it's still prelims, So got down to auth select, but I want to go see this. Stig debug. We do not care about removable devices because we are in a controlled environment. It's fine. Get out of here. All right, let's see. Let's see. For fun. For fun and profit, right? I mean, it's mostly for fun, but we're not working too hard. Still in the prelim. All right, so now we're in the high. So it's making changes to this box right now. It's making changes to make this thing more in line with the configurations for the STIG high standards right here. And then it failed. So no host keys available, exiting. SHD must not allow blank password. I'm surprised that would fail. But this would be cat 1, right? These are the 2 ones, so and we want blank. So why did that, hold on, so why did that fail then? Let me hit N. That's the only one. I'm going to add that just for fun, just to see if it gets past it. So RHEL9 SSHD must not allow blank passwords. Again, I don't know why that failed. That's super weird that that would fail because all it would do is check for that line in file. But in this case, we'll just tell it failed when false and let it blow over the top of it. We're going to redo our audit after anyways, and we could have to manually check some things, but in the big scheme of things, being able to do most of this in an automated fashion is probably the best for us. So all right, we're into our RHEL again. We're back to our highs. Let's see if we can get past that one. So, Pam. I'm very curious if we go look in this box again, right? CD. Down in here. So we keep hitting these errors where it's true, there are no host keys available. Because host keys don't get put on the box until they get deployed. So those are part of the overlays, the system overlays that come up. So I guess the best way to handle this would be to get rid of that, any of those host keys. So anything with that. Such a weird place to fail because that file should be there on the box. SHD config file should be in etc ssh sshd underscore config. So that should be there. That file's definitely there. We'll look for any other. Just those two, huh? But it'll fail on any of the other ones and any of the other. Oh, whoops. I still needed that in there. I think we're going to get past that problem, but that would still be something I'd have to go check manually on the system later. So, kind of a hassle. Padillo, you said, any advice to get out of MSP and onto an internal IT team? So you want to get into like Linux, I imagine. I mean, if you're asking me, I would think you're trying to hopefully get onto Linux team. What I would do is I would emphasize, give me a second here, I'd emphasize my strengths. Let me pull up an example resume. One of my documents. Where's that thing at? This is an example of my resume, right? This is a het resume. And what I would do... Yeah. What I would do is I would come in here and I would lead with whatever's your strength. Try to get down to one page if you can, right? Try to... a one-page resume, I think, is always best. If you know... shit. Down to mediums and all right. So anyways, guys, you guys see the process, right? I've told you guys stigging is for some people a real nightmare. If I haven't proven that to you, you got to get to each next one, and then you got to keep modifying your stuff until you get it the way you want, and then you can use it to harden your image that one time. And you're like, isn't that kind of annoying? Yeah. But then if I ever bring it to another cluster, I've got one that probably is going to mostly get my system to the standard that I want pretty quickly. So this is how I would do this and clean this up. Anyways, back to the question about the resume, though. Your information at the top, if you want to do a summary of your qualifications, you can. You don't need this. Some people don't like summaries. I do because I just get to put all my certs in there. But it doesn't really matter that much to me because I've been around a long time. And then I emphasize like my last few jobs as like the ones that kind of get the most focus. For you working at an MSP, I would say, what have you done to make things better? And we try to say these like deploy. So I should have these all past tense, interfaced, developed, deployed, and they should be action verbs, and then they should say how much of something they improve. So in this case, developed a patching deployment system that hits all CVSS scores that are 7 or greater within 30 days, and all CVSS scores within 90 days of them being found, right? Also defined a procedure for evaluation and mitigation of zero-day attacks for both vendor-supplied patches and when patches are not available. So if patches aren't available, we can do this other thing with mitigation strategies and that other stuff. College, I just put a bunch of the college classes I've taught because sometimes people care about that stuff. And then older jobs, I still put what I was doing, but they are much shorter and they just have whatever. Then I have my education at the bottom, because for me, the education side of like my stuff, and these are all real, by the way, and real dates. They're just changed names, or the names are generic. The things about these are, this is the least important thing that I want people to look at as the bottom of my resume. Most important thing is I've got 21 years, actually probably 22 years of doing this now, and 16 years of teaching this stuff, right? That's what I want people to see. For you, you want to focus on what your strengths are. Do you have any certs? Obviously, some of your experience for 3 years at an MSP, probably a lot of troubleshooting experience, probably a lot of working with like service management and maybe service liaison type stuff. So I would say those are the things that you want to focus on. Because at the end of the day, right, what are you trying to convince somebody when they hire you for like a Linux sysadmin or a Linux systems engineering role? A sysadmin role, you want to prove that you can kind of like take that mantle and keep the system running until the next person on the next shift can take it over from you, right? Like you want to show that you can knock out tickets and troubleshoot things and keep the system going, right? That's what Linux engineers do, right? We keep the systems running, and then also eventually you'll be building them and that kind of stuff, building them and securing them. So anyways, this is how I do my resume. Mine is very much, also mine's up in the Discord, but it's also very much like take it with a grain of salt, because I think I've told you guys like my last 9 jobs or something, people came and looked for me because they knew me. So to get there though, you have to do these, basic things. Show people that you can do the work, show people that you're willing to do the work. Those are the 2 things, I guess. So hopefully that's a good enough answer for you on that. Yeah, we would just keep working through these guys. Yeah, managed service providers. Yeah. I would also tell you, this is another thing I tell people is don't be afraid to go the knock route. Don't be afraid to get into a knock or a sock. And sometimes you got to work the 3rd shift for a while. I mean, it sucks, but it gets you on this right here. Hold on. This is from one of the talks that we do around here sometimes. Not these. It's a different talk. Streaming. No, this is streaming. What is that? Hold on. It's labs. Is it this one? Like systems administration? I think it's this one. So this comes from like a talk that I've done with you guys about like getting into the Linux engineering, right? And I always show you guys this, and some of you have probably seen this enough that you're like, I don't want to see it anymore. Well, somebody's still got to see it. So typically, in the big scheme of things, what are we doing out in the world? Let me move that over so it's not behind me. What are we doing out in the world, right? We are PPDIOO. This comes from Cisco. This is Cisco methodology, but we prepare, we plan, we design, we implement, we operate, and we optimize. Well, project work and like a lot of times what I would call like engineering work is over here. Everybody thinks it's more fun, and maybe in some ways it is, but we have to keep the lights on, KTLO. So sysadmins tend to start over here, which is in the operator system that's already running. And then you're like network operations, security operations, maybe help desk. Some guys got their breaks in from help desk. That can be a thing. Let me move that off the bottom. There you go. But then you get over here, and instead of maybe putting your feet up on the desk at night when you're in the third shift running the knock, you're working on making documentation better, and you're working on drawing the system out, and you're working on updating documentation that you find that's over 6 months old. Or if you find a gap in documentation, you start to write it. And you just make the system better, because if you do this, right, if you sit around and make the system better, the management is going to notice. I know people think, oh, managers aren't going to notice. Listen, if you're making a manager's life easier because every time they come in, like, the things are getting better and people are understanding and they're hearing your name, they're like, oh, yeah, like, or they're getting a doc from somebody on how to do something to send to some other team and your name's at the top, they are going to start to take notice of that. Even if you might say, well, but managers are selfish jerks. Who knows? Maybe your manager is. I guarantee you a selfish jerk still wants the people that are good working close with them. So they are going to probably, hopefully, eventually take you out of this. I think of this kind of as like the starting place and start moving you over into doing project work, and you'll start getting invited into things, and, you know, the architects will start bringing you in on stuff and go, hey, what do you think about this? You know, and you're like, oh, I didn't even think somebody was going to ask me. I guess I've seen this, this, and this. And then they're like, you know, and then next thing you know, they're bringing you in on more and more, and you're, next thing you know, you're an engineer. Hopefully you're getting promoted for it. If you're not getting promoted, sometimes you got to update the resume and move around. I tell people all the time, the industry cannot keep up with your pay. It can't. Like, your value, let's say you start out as like a Linux admin at 60K. That's pretty small nowadays, guys. Let's just say. And then you start getting skills and you have like 2 to 3 years skills experience in like Linux. And I mean, you're going to be able to jump anywhere for 110 probably. And those are just numbers I'm kind of pulling out, but that's what I've seen. And then, you know, you're doing that, and then 5 years later, your skills should have pushed you well over 150 by that point. But the company, if you stay with the company, they can only move you up 6% a year, right? That's all they can do. So they're moving you up like this rate, and your skills are valued at like this in the industry. So, my CEO and CISO chose me to remediate vulnerabilities for our biggest client, quarterly scaling. I think that's good experience, but how can I put that in a resume and someone else see value there? Also, they have me remediating vulnerabilities found in pen tests that we receive as well, but the title is just level 2 help desk. Yeah, Dillo. So what I would do is I would focus on, we have a section on the Discord about this, but did I already close it? I did close it, didn't I? No. I would focus on like kind of the action verbs of what you just said. I have some examples in here. Hold on. So you go like jobs and interview discussions on our Discord. Hold on here. There's Discord if anybody needs it. I'll link it on Twitter or YouTube as well. All right. So I think that was somebody's example, but people will put their resumes up. They'll clear some stuff out, and then we'll kind of give them some stuff. Like in this case, I said, you know, this is just somebody's example here, and it's like they had already done this: gained, implemented, automated, monitored, managed, executed, provided, and deployed. Right? Okay, so what I was saying is in our Discord, we have different sections where people sometimes go and we'll talk them through. Like they'll post a picture of their resume, they'll have their names and stuff blotted out, and then they'll just have stuff in there and we'll give example. I think somebody had already asked on this one, but look, they have gained, implemented, automated, monitored, managed, executed. These are the ways I like doing them, so I may have already told them by this point, but it's like automated backup tasks, reducing manual effort by 70%. That's huge to me. That's the kind of things I want to see if I'm looking at a resume. Now, full disclosure, and I tell you guys this often, I've never been the manager. I will refuse to be a manager my whole career. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer's engineer. That's what I do. But where I'm going with that is I get asked a lot to sit in on technical interviews, and I've showed you guys my way of doing technical interviews, and we can go over that sometimes if you want. This was somebody's example, right? And he did the same thing. Leith in this example has some certs that he's either completed or is working on, right? So that's valuable. If you have one completed, put that on there. I also like putting a date, or RHCSA is tied to a version. So I think he's RHCSA 9. So, you know, there, boom. He doesn't have as much work experience, but he does have time that shows that he stayed with the company. So we focus less on the work. So if MSP is not as important, I think your job probably is pretty important as far as knowing the troubleshooting stuff. You do want that up top still, because your job is in tech, right? You're already in tech. You're tech adjacent, or you're moving into tech where you're at. So that's fine. Put the title up there. Who cares? But it shows that you've been working, especially if you can show I was a help desk 1 and now I'm help desk 2. Show that, right? Show that you've moved up. And then your achievements or your, let's see if we have another one up here. So people post their resumes up here. Streamlined, enhanced, boosted, promoted, maintained. I like stuff like that. Action verbs, right? Enhanced IT operations, proactive maintenance, servers and switches. I'm a big fan. If you're going to do this, you say over 3,600 devices. Yeah, Nexen tires. You're welcome to post it, and ask the guys, hey, can somebody give me? Because you know, I tell the guys, don't hammer people, right? We're trying to get better here. Do try to keep it down at 1 page if you can. That's for you and the industry. That's kind of like an industry. Fucking cats. But people post stuff up here. Here was another one. This one got commented on. I'm not trying to crap on anybody. I'm just using them as a quick example. Plus, people are linked out and stuff. A lot of people didn't like the dark background and didn't like the two columns. I mean, you can do it as a repo. Yeah, I'm okay with putting, like, I have my repo at the top, even though I'm not a software engineer. So looking at my repos, you'd be like, this guy barely ever commits and he does whatever. Yeah, my repos are just there to show people that want to go dig around and stuff I've done, right? But this person, some people also don't like summaries. I'm not against summaries. If your education's directly tied to work and you don't have a lot of work stuff, I'd definitely move the education up. But my point in this is, if you've got a summary of work experience, education, certs, passion, and desktops, you know, whatever you're doing, I would lead with the thing that I think is most important. If the best thing you've got is all your certs, put them up the top. If the best thing you've got is your work experience, put it up top. Does that make sense? For me, back in my example, I'll pull mine back up again. Hold on. File, open, short resume, right? In my example here, you guys see me there? I have my qualifications up front, because let's be honest, if somebody wants to hire me, they are probably going to care about this most. Got a whole bunch of time doing this. Now, if they want to know specific things I know, here's my industry standard certs, right? Like, if a job requires a CISSP, I've got it. If it because some jobs require that, especially in like government space, that 8570 stuff. But if not, if they're like, well, what have you been doing? Well, I've been a platform engineering lead, and I've been a professor, and I've been a systems administrator. That's the title. I've been an architect. I have all these different I don't care what hat you want me to put on. I will build stuff. I will troubleshoot stuff. I will fix stuff. I will deploy stuff. That's like what I do. And that's like what my whole career shows, all the way back to June of 2009 in this case. So the last 16 years at this point, right? But even before that, I was running my own business for years. And then when I first got out of the Army, I was working at a school district, just moving computers around. But, you know, got into tech in the early 2000s because, you know, it was better than being in the infantry, let me tell you that. Although the infantry, I got cooler awards, but but you can't do the infantry your whole life. So this is mine. I put what I think is most important up top. This is just how you contact me. And if you want to go look around at some of my stuff. And then I think the labs on Killer Coda are cool, so I added them up there. And I actually need to add more because I've been planning more labs. So I'm going to try to get us to like 80 this year, 80 labs out there. But yeah, that's what I think people should do. The question was like resumes and getting jobs. Let's see if anybody else has a resume up here. It's one of my favorite ones. I think my brother posted this. Yeah. Damn it, stop playing video games at work. Just give me a second. I have to fight this boss. Gotta fight this boss. I used to send this to my boss, Daniel, when I worked at AAA. I'd send this to him every few weeks via text, just in case he forgot. But I sat right behind him. Like, so I sat here, and he sat like right behind me, like back to back with me in the cubicles, because we had these like lower cubicles, but they were real wide. So I had a lot of room to move around, but he was behind me, and yeah, he was a pretty good boss though. He and I worked together pretty well. Um, Hacker man, that's what everybody's goal is, right? Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Excuse me, going on in our Discord, stuff that I think is useful. And a lot of old jokes. But anyways, there's a lot of stuff in there. You guys are welcome to hang out in there and talk shop. But this is kind of my ideas of this. All right, I gotta change the song. Song has too much like voicemail messages. All right, hold on. Let's see. Can we find? Let's go back to scary or spooky. Hopefully, spooky doesn't spook everybody out too much. All right. But anyways, that's my stuff. And then I have a bunch of stuff over here, like when we've talked about this before. Like if the goal is to get into the tech world, getting into the Linux engineering field, if this is like what you kind of want to do, we were talking about this where, find a methodology of troubleshooting. I've got, whole talks on troubleshooting that we've walked through. We did a Linux systems admin course where I walked you guys through all kinds of methods of troubleshooting. I can pull it up if you want to see it, but there's also like a recording on it. But it's like troubleshooting can be a 6-step, a 7-step, an 8-step methodology. It can be a whole bunch of different stuff, but generally it's identify a problem, establish a theory, test your theory, plan of action, implement, verify, document. That's like a high-level step. Some of us might say, well, document doesn't really get chopped up by itself, or it's not by itself, it gets chopped up and kind of scattered along with all of this. And you say, yeah, fair enough. You should be documenting as you go anyways, especially if you have like a bridge stand-up or something in a troubleshooting event if something's down. Like these are the things that we kind of need to know. And there's different methods of troubleshooting. Do we know how to walk the OSI model? The OSI model is this model of how networking works. And actually, I meant to do this earlier. I'll do it here in a little bit. But walking the OSI model, do you understand networking? And then the students, but you guys, like people that hang out with me, they'll ask me, like, how much do I need to know the OSI model? How much do I need to know networking? Well, I say, well, every device you're ever going to touch in the systems world is going to be on a network. So you need to kind of know networking. I mean, you don't have to be an expert in it, but this is like the minimum I would know. Come up here to like our networking topics, and I posted this the other day. This is like the minimum right here. This is the Red Book from IBM. This is free. They just have it out there. You can just download it, read it. But hold on. It's like, but wait, there's more. Let me just link this to you guys real quick. And the question was, we were kind of talking about this, and I had said, and it's archived now, right? But it's got good stuff in here. And one of the things that, there's some history and some other stuff, and then we get down in here to like the standards, right? So the standards talk about how you would know or read or figure out networking in some way, right? So you come down here and there's this thing called an RFC, and then it's got a standard, a draft standard. And by the way, the RFCs, they get updated, but they're, by and large, this process is exactly the same way that we've done it since the 80s. Like, I got into networking in the early 2000s, but even then they were like, this has been the same, and this has been the same, and the ARPANET and all that stuff, and got built. Hey, Tawny, how's it going? I'm showing the guys the red books to like a minimum like how networking might work, or a minimum bit of stuff. So what I was going to ask the guys is, with this lab, right, or with this book. So you've got this book here, right? This is the red book. I linked it to you guys already, so you guys have it. Let me move this over here to the side for a second. And then this would be, I'd ask the guys what they think about, let's say 21 through, 21 through 27. So this would be like my discussion for the week. If I wanted to put this together as like a little discussion post, I would say on this. So I would probably say read pages. So 20 through. So this would be 20 through, I think it was 27. Yeah, 27. Right? And then the questions would be this, like, these would be my questions real quick. So I'm just looking through real quick, right? Like, what would be my questions? All right, 2 would be, let me just look real quick again. 2 would be, what is an RFC and where do you get them? And the smart aleck answer is on the internet, right? Because I just Googled for them too, right? And then the last one might be as like a fun one, like maybe what is the RFC? So you've got, by the way, it was the wireless application protocol well before it was whatever else it is nowadays for you, heathens. Anyways, I'm just kidding. But so there's 802.11, but you guys know that there's newer 802.11 standards coming out. So 802 stands for the IEEE February of 1980. They sat down and started to establish protocols. That's where the 802 comes from, in case you guys ever get quizzed that on like a game show sometime. IEEE 802 refers to February of 1980 when they started writing these standards. 11 is the blanket, the umbrella for wireless application protocols, right? And then you got A, B, G, N, X, all these other ones. But let's say RFC for 5G. What is the RFC for 5G? And it's like there's a whole bunch of different ones, but 8822 is an encapsulation method. Let's see, wireless wireline convergence user plane. Boom. And then we could come in here and we could say, here's some information, right? And then I might say, like if I'm just asking questions of people, I might do something like this. I might say, okay, what is this? Like, what is this RFC covering? And then maybe A on that question would be something like, oh, here's some nice acronyms in case you haven't ever read any of them. But then I might ask somebody, what is the length of the header defined in here? So there's a header that exists right here. This is the header information. Tim Berners-Lee in 1995. Wonder what languages he was using. I'm not sure. Hold on, data payload. But the full header is defined right here, right? And it tells you version must be set to OX02, so there's no options there. Type must be set to this. We don't have anything else for that. Nexen Tires, thanks for the, what is that, a subscription? I appreciate that. Sometimes you guys use Prime, sometimes you do subscriptions. Either way, you don't have to watch any ads, which is kind of nice. Coming up real quick, hold on. I want to see if they say the full. Oh, and then I might say, what are some RFCs? What are some RFCs that are covered or mentioned? And I know you can just I know you can just Control F and find that, But here's the thing about it, when I put questions like this out there, right? And then I'll take this off because I don't like embeds. And then I just go like this and I say to make thread. Where is it at? Create thread, right? Discuss. Now, if anybody wants to discuss that, they can have a little bit of a conversation around that book, about that topic. They can go find updated information and say, well, hey, that book was good, but that book was, late. Now, the RFC should still be updated. We can see when this RFC was published right at the top, typically. You should be able to see April 2021. That's still current, right? But if it's superseded by any, it'll say in here, status of this is superseded by this new one, and then you kind of have this mapping to go around and find stuff. So anyways, I've been meaning to do that anyways for these guys because they had wanted to talk about networking. So the first start of networking, I think, is to know how to go get to the source, and then we can go start talking. The next part of the book will be, page 29 through whatever, and we'll talk about your Ethernet headers, and then we'll pull up Wireshark. I'll make the guys do Wireshark, right? And again, nobody has to do anything. Nobody has to answer me or anything. It's just some people say that they want to do this stuff, and I say, well, excuse me, this is where we go and we find this stuff and we figure this stuff out. Because again, and I tell you guys this often, you don't always, not everybody comes up and goes and gets a networking degree, right? Not everybody wants to do networking. Yeah, next, and I hope you guys learn stuff here. That's the goal. And it's funny, sometimes the guys will tell me, oh, this is just like a college class I was in. And I was like, well, I've been teaching college for 16 years. So hopefully it sounds like a college class because that's what I do. Also, I tell you guys sometimes it sounds like I'm being overly pedantic, like I want to sound smart. That's not the case. That's the goal. I tell you guys this often. The goal is not to be the smartest engineer in the room. Because being smart is irrelevant. I found this early in my career. I was not going to be the smartest engineer in the room. I've worked with really smart guys. But the reason I'm so pedantic about things is because some of you don't get to do this stuff. Some of you guys break rocks all day or work in the sun, and then you come and you hang out. And I do this with my college students too. I'm going to be as technical as I can when I talk to them, because this may be the only time they get to hear it from an engineer, the way an engineer talks. So this is what we do around here, right? Your questions. You guys had some troubleshooting framework, baseline. Do you guys want to see my troubleshooting stuff? Do you guys? I mean, I've shown you guys this before, but I'll, if somebody new wants to see it. By the way, also, if you guys don't know, I go with whatever I see. I do that same thing with my college students. If Twitch or YouTube says, yeah, do it, I do it, right? That's I'm like squirrel. I go off wherever. Baselining, that's part of some of our stuff. Get hands-on skills with, there's so many things out there to get hands-on skills with. The non-free versions, typically you got to go through a business type thing, but for non-free versions of things, so you can't do that. But there's a lot of free stuff out there. Getting a junior sysadmin role, what to document or otherwise do as a project. We have a whole bunch of projects for you guys to do in the Discord. They're always going to sit up there forever. We have a Linux Systems Administration course that we did, I think it was October through December, and then we're going to start it up again in March. So if anybody joins the server, these are free. I've never charged anybody. You can ask people in Discord. The only person that'll ever charge you anything is if you ask Fisherman about the bot, and then he'll charge you. No, I'm just kidding. But there's a Linux sysadmin course, and we had 208 people at one point said they were coming to it. We only had 8 people finish it, 8 or 9. I made it difficult. It's challenging. It's a long course. There's 8 or 9 hours a week worth of work and study and stuff that you have to put in. At least 8 or 9 hours. That's of the work and stuff. And then there's a big project at the end that you have to do. And a lot of the guys did some really cool projects. In fact, some of them posted them up. You can find them in the. Where did they do them? These are old talks. So when our engineers come and talk, I got a bunch of engineers around that come and talk to you guys. Here's their talks. So M-Pesa, Fisherman. These are guys that are out in the industry. John, that's one of my brothers. M-Pesa. The guys that come and talk to you that are engineers and architects in some cases, they post their stuff up here. I post all my old stuff here too. So if you ever see one of my talks and want to find it, it should be up here somewhere. So, all right. I haven't heard anybody. Okay, yeah, nobody said they wanted to do admin troubleshooting, so we won't do that. Junior sysadmin, what type of jobs can you get as a Linux admin engineer? We go through those, and I have a bunch of notes on this for you guys. Where do I have that? Maybe back here. That was when we were building Wooza on our environment. Oh, here's our job skills one. So we go through job skills sometimes in here if you guys want. And these were actual job board requirements right here. Was install, configure, and maintain Linux. So then we talked about some of the different things you needed to know and how to build things, how to monitor system performance and troubleshoot issues related to hardware, operating systems, and software. And then we went and we pulled up a system. We popped over here and we said, okay, CPU. We can see the uptime. We can see the number of processors. We can see, maybe a D message and a head to see how the system started, how it was called from the command line, how it was started up, CPU type information. We can see the kernel that we're on, right? Like things that we need to know kind of about the system. How much CPU is being used currently. We can do, what is that tool? Not strace. iostat-c, and maybe we do like 1.5. So every 1 second we can see how much of the system. The job skill example notes, Atticus, should be in name presentations. No, that's Socratic notes. I think they're up here. I think I just have them in meeting notes. Meeting notes are the labs we've been doing. So by the way, the notes that I just did today kept building on this. Hold on real quick. The labs that we were doing today were right here. So these ones were 5, 6, 7. Where does this one go down to? 4. So all the way up to here. Notes. Right. So there's even more recent notes that we were doing. But real quick, hold on. This one was the job notes one. That was what an admin needs to know about service. People like that one, I thought, too. There's all our Wazoo stuff, meeting notes. Yeah, these were the job ones right here. So where's the question? Atticus? Yeah, it was up here. It was when you're sysadmin. So somebody asked about like what do you do when you're a brand new sysadmin? And this was my things. I said when you're a brand new sysadmin, make an onboarding document, like document all the sources, our team and others, so wiki pages and SharePoints or media, whatever tools your team uses, document them all. What all meetings have you been invited to? What things do somebody after you need to know? What access do you need to get? Like server access, like so root access if you need it, Jira board, team calendar, SharePoint, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, whatever. Points of contact for the HR, maybe an architect that you work with. What documentation can you review? What service levels or key performance indicators? What are our current pain points? System map, draw it out, and then draw out kind of the way everything works. And this is what I think like your first 2 weeks of being a sysadmin should be right here, these things. So people have asked me about that before. Electrical circuits class should be mandatory if you forgot high school physics. Yeah, I think electrical, I did some electrical circuits in college, even though I'm colorblind. But I could get away with it because I could see the bars pretty well. Like I'm not completely colorblind, but anyway, so this is stuff for you guys. Like that's what all these notes are. Go back through there and scrape any of the stuff. But a lot of this stuff, like it's not. I don't think necessarily that you have to like understand and like have this big brain about everything. I think you need to get your hands on the keyboard, understand how to check things, understand how to troubleshoot things, and then you just got to prove to somebody that you can do it, right? Obviously, that's the difficult thing is getting a company to believe that you can do it, right? Is there a structured guide to get into tech? There's not really a structured guide. I fell into it. Well, I got out of the Army and I said I wanted to not be in the infantry anymore, so, right, I started just doing networking. How can a Linux engineer support their dev team better? That's just understand their part of the job. Like, do I need to get them tools? Do I need to update their tools? Do their tools have to be built in a different way than like a package manager? When I update Python, do I break their stuff and vice versa? Do I need to understand that? We talked about what an automation mindset is and how you cultivate one. Once you kind of understand how things work, you look at how to make them happen without you having to intervene and make it walk through all the steps of the thing it needs to. And then ranks for admins. I don't remember what that question was, but Linux skills, you need admin skills. I always talk about observe, benchmark, and tune. I've got a whole discussion on that, like a whole chat for you guys. What was my command after uptime? I did uptime to show the system usage and how long it's been up. I did nproc to see the number of processors, but you could also do cat proc CPU info grep-i for prod or for proc, and then word count-l if you wanted to do it the long way, and then you pull that off and you would see what it's doing, right? So nproc will give you the number of processors, which is a super nice little short command, just to make sure that, like, in a script or something, that the server that's running on is big enough. That's a nice little script check. nproc greater than or equal to 3 or something like that, and then it'll be 4 and above. Greater than or equal to would be 3 or above, right? And you could just do that real quick in a shell command, and then it wouldn't work on a box that was too small to handle whatever you needed. For you guys that want to get better at, like, just doing Linux stuff, we've got a whole bunch of labs out there. We have a whole bunch of labs on the Killer Coda, which are free. They don't cost you anything. Don't get anything from them. They're just free. I dropped them over on the Twitch side, and then if you guys want them on the YouTube side, there they are. And these are just ways to get your hands on a keyboard. And then if you got tired of our labs, you just go up to Killer Coda and go to literally probably over 1,000 labs from different projects and stuff that are out there. I think you need to know what benchmarking and baselining are. I think you need to know how to tell if your system's under a high load or not, those kind of things. You got to be able to troubleshoot problems, read logs, know how problems happen. Testing kind of encompasses all three of these things. You test something to do your troubleshooting, like you test assumptions, you test what you know is true. You also test for benchmarking to see how high a system goes. You test to see the baseline of the current system as it runs over time. Yeah, and then there's all kinds of types of testing to understand too. Yep. I really think you need to know how to push and pull files around systems. You're going to have a real hard time as a sysadmin and an engineer if you don't know how to push a file and pull a file. So you need to learn your SCPs and your rsyncs. You don't have to be some profound expert and know all the flags, but you know how to SCP from here to there and SCP from there back to here, right? So if I'm over here on Werewolf and I cd to temp and then I like just touch Scott file, I should be able to SCP Scott file over to Rocky 18 temp Scott file 2, let's say. Let's rename it as we move it. And then I come over here and I cd to temp and I see that file there, right? I didn't realize there was an old Scott file there. But there's my Scott file 2 with nothing in it because I didn't put anything in it, right? Push it over there again. Run it again, then we see that it pushed, right? Pushing and pulling files, moving data around in your network, tremendously valuable to just, sometimes you got to pull information out of the logs and give them to a vendor. Sometimes you got to, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that you might have to do. can you parse search through log files? Can you look for patterns and errors, and can you grep down and awk columns and pull things out of a log file? And that's a skill that you have to build up and learn, right? Like you have to practice those things. You need to understand process evaluation, who's doing what in a system, right? So if I ps-ef on the system, I see a lot of stuff. But then if I know how to ps-ef and then maybe awk for the first field, well, now I see a bunch of stuff, but I don't really have a way to... Now I can see that root is doing 97 things, dbus is doing 2 things, polkit d is doing 1, and rpc is doing 1. So if somebody were to ask me if this box is really doing anything, I'd be like, it's the root user running. I mean, there's not really much anything going on here. But maybe then I go and I start to, you know, dig in a little bit more on the processes, and I say, well what's exposing ports out, right? ss-nt ulp, and I see that this system is listening on 111, whatever that is, some kind of RPC bind thing, right? And then I got sshd, that's my SSH daemon, that's listening to any IPv4 address on port 22 and any IPv6 address on port 22 as well. So we've got these things happening that we can kind of validate. Now I can go look at what the process is. So here's the process ID, 906 for SSHD. So I can say, okay, well, what's that process doing? LSOF dash maybe P for 906. And I say, okay, that process is obviously holding open the IPv4 and IPv6. And this is the file descriptor right here, right? This file descriptor for 3U and 4U. So it's open and holding that. But here's the things it's looking at. Here's all the files that it's actually touching, right? I can, I always forget how to do it, but strace. We can, I should just be able to do command. Oh, was that one up there? Hold on. Yeah, typically we can attach to a PID that's already running. So we can do like strace attach equals like 906. And I should then be able to look at, so when I'm on Rocky 18 over here, and then I SSH to like Rocky 18 over here. And then if I come back to this other box, I see all these things that happened with that process as it spawned a new SSH terminal. And then if this were to exit, I come back over here, I would see more things that are happening from that daemon. So I can watch things happen in my system and make sure that things are doing what I expect. See if there's, I mean, I may be getting errors here around SE Linux, and then I got to go figure out, oh well, the contexts are bad on certain things that are happening. There's so many things that, like, it could make your head explode to try to sit around and think about them all. What we do instead of memorizing them, is we learn how to reference them and go look things up. Like I didn't remember how to do that attach for that process. Maybe I need to attach to that process because it's behaving a way that I don't expect it to. So now maybe I keep an eye on it, and then, you know, I connected, I see that it did something, and maybe it went and it should have spawned a new shell out of here. So then now this guy over here, he's running on 41569. 41569, right? And now I can track over here, and he can say echo, hi, I'm the best, right? And over here, I see all this stuff that happened within the system, right? I can actually kind of keep an eye on what's going on, right? I should be able to see that actually right out. There's the end of term. Point is, if you wanted to watch if like what a system was doing, you could do it. You could also write things that'll go and do this automatically. Should have echoed. But it wrote the next terminal prompt to the screen. But we should have had it up here where it actually wrote out the message. Hi, I'm the best or whatever. Might be up here a little more. Lots of stuff going on in a system, right? Lots of stuff going on as somebody's typing. So this was actually the typing happening, right? And then as we hit enter, we should have seen, yep, there's the end of the read, and then the right was echo. Where is it at? Yeah, that might just be it right there. At least codes there, because they're ASCII codes, right? So those are probably just the ASCII codes for letters. Yeah, I don't see them anywhere else. So I must have written them out as ASCII. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. And then the new character, or the new PS. That's a read of the PS1 variable, right? So, but the point in showing you that is that like you can do and know a lot of stuff about what's going on. Disk and mount points. You know, you got to understand your disks and where they're mounted. Network and network tools. So how is your system behaving? File system permissions, because those are probably what you're going to get the most questions about from your users. And then system building. How do we build systems? How do we look at them? Automation. You probably want to know some Bash, Perl, and Python. I would know only one of these. Like Bash if you're going to be a Linux guy. Python if you're going to do more. Like I might be moving over to what's called a SPA role with WCOS, which is part of NOAA. Which is interesting. NOAA was getting audited today, if you guys don't know. But I'm part of the NOAA project kind of as a tangential contractor, and I might be going back over as more of a lead. And I'll probably be using a significantly higher amount of Python working with some of the research scientists that I will. Git, huge. You got to know how Git works, even if you're on the Linux side of things. And then Ansible is just, Ansible's really like king for automation. It's a scaffolding around how we connect all of our different devices. So it's huge, right? General knowledge, I would say you need to know some networking. You need to know some hardware design, depending on how much you're going to be in a data center. I would say nowadays you need to know some cloud. Oh, and then I put all these things out here. Everybody always thinks that something matters. Like, oh, I need to know how to use a certain version of BSD or Arch Linux. And I'm like, that's wonderful. It's cool to run that stuff, fine. Like, we all have our hobbies. But professionally, less important. Much less important. So if you bring it up in an interview, it's fine. I mean, it's fine to have hobbies, but I don't think most professionals are gonna care, right? And I try to emphasize that on stream because people will tell me all the time, "Oh, I use Arch and you don't." And I'm like, "Congrats." I mean, congrats. Like, I don't know what to tell people when they tell me that. Actually, some of you guys have been around long enough to know I don't know what to tell people when they tell me that. I'm like, I'm good. We're all hobbyists here. But some of us want to then go be pros, right? We want to go do this stuff professionally. I think storage system, by the way, all of these things have their own career path from Linux. If you want to get really good at networking, you might go be a Linux. Who's calling me from Savannah, Georgia? Well, they can leave me a message if they want. Process engineering, Six Sigma, total quality management, understanding how processes work I don't think it'll ever steer you wrong if you want to eventually be an engineer. Process engineering shows you how to troubleshoot processes, how to build processes. It's just good to understand the input, process, output of anything, right? I think good to know but not required web skills. I'm not great at web, but I can at least do some hosting. I think you should know some general SQL stuff, but you don't need to be the guy that does SQL all day if you don't want, right? Not to be a Linux engineer. But if these things show up on a job description and you have some of them, then you can tweak your resume a little bit to kind of fit that a little better, right? How do you learn? I think people think they learn different ways. We don't have to get into that. That's structured and unstructured learning. We can talk about that if you guys wanted, but Day in the life of an engineer. Here's your engineering mind or your automation mindset, because people had asked about it. Need to know your tools. You need to know how your tools work. You need to know how do they work, where do we use them, how do I look things up, because you can't remember everything. You need to apply your tools as much as you can to make life easier. Can you hit an API daily so you don't have to ask a question of some team? You can just see if some service is up. If you're typing the same thing for multiple systems, you need to automate it. That's just, if you're doing something for more than like 20 systems, you're probably wasting your day, and you're probably just frustrating yourself because you're prone to error. If nobody's told you guys that, like, every one of you here is prone to error. You might not think you're prone to error, but you do something 100 times, you're probably going to mess it up at least once. Computers are not prone to error. So if it would take you the time it took to do 20 of those to automate a process to go hit the other 80, you saved yourself some time to watch Netflix instead of just doing that job all day, And then you say, well, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm kidding about Netflix, but you could go do other things that then progress more and look better for your, annual reviews or whatever productivity things you have as an individual contributor, that kind of stuff. We were talking about what doesn't transfer between Linux versions, because I was saying how I just want you guys to be in some version of Linux. Even if it's Arch, even if it's BSD, I really don't care. But what doesn't transfer well is the file system structure. There are differences between, etc sysconfig networking or networking-scripts or network-scripts and etc netplan and all these different things between like Ubuntu and SLES and Red Hat. The network underpinnings are different. How we do, like, are we doing nowadays like NMCLI, or am I still doing things directly in the file, or do I let Network Manager handle it? There's like all these different things. And then your package managers are all different too. We've got Red Hat and DNF. So Red Hat is DNF and RPM, and then your Ubuntu style systems are your apt and your dpackage, right? But package managers are similar, but they're different, and it doesn't always transfer well between Linux versions. Like RPM QA and dpkg-l are different, but they do the same thing, right? So you need to know different engineering terms, the good and the bad. What else do I have in here? I got a bunch of things. Yeah. But I think the most important thing for you guys is know how most engineers and admins start out, especially if you're trying to start. You're going to start probably over here. So, all right. Yeah, I've been going for a while. But the wife isn't back for a little bit. SVN commit. How do we write updates to Linux? Well, Batman loves Spock. We can, or Spokey. Batman loves yeah. Number one thing I would do if you want to get involved with any open source community is go get on their mailing list, see kind of what's happening on there. I would go get involved in their Git and see what open issues they have, and then maybe I would ask, hey, there's some open issues here, and then if I were trying to do that work, right? And I've worked on a few open source projects over the years, but I'm not really active in any right now. But I would get involved with their email list for sure, see how people are doing things. I would go review whatever their style guide is, right? Because if you're going to write code, you got to write it to their style, and everybody's got different styles. And then I would make sure that you're writing it in whatever approved. There's a big push to like move everything over in Linux to Rust, but that's not like, I don't think that's approved at all yet. So most things are still in C, C++, I think. Whatever it is, you can go look it up. But my point is, that's how I would go write those things. I would go get involved with those projects. I don't do anything with that kind of stuff directly, so. What else? What else we got in here, guys? Oh yeah, lots of stuff going on. I gotta get All right, so now there's all these ones I have to go remediate if I want to. There's all the names. $851 of these approximately. Well, at least the word name, right? Some of them are the actual name, and then let's see, are some of them actually just a comment? No, those all look like those are really the names. We could also do smaller subversions or subsets of these if we wanted to. We do not have to run the whole check every time if we wanted to get back into doing the checks. I probably won't do any more of the checks tonight. I'll probably take a little bit of a break, but this stuff is all updated in the Discord. So if you want to go through any of that, we've been doing that kind of on stream for like the last little bit. Other things I'm going to be doing on stream here this week, I have a whole bunch more of the Killer Coda labs to write. So I'm going to start working on the labs maybe even tomorrow. Let's see, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. So yeah, maybe even tomorrow and into the weekend. Oh, and then Friday is my normal date night with the wife. But this week she's going to her sister's and they're doing Galentine's Day. Have you guys heard of this Galentine's thing? It's like for the women before Valentine's Day. I don't know. But anyways, her and her sister and then some of their friends are going to watch like Disney movies or something. And they were like, you can come. And I'm like, I'll leave that to you ladies. So they're going to watch like old Disney. I think they're going to watch like Beauty and the Beast and some of the old ones, which is fine. I got no problems with them. I'm just probably going to stay home and hang out with you guys and write labs up and stuff. So there's that. If you guys do get involved in the Discord, there's a lot of ways to actually get involved down there. There's I know Treasure's always running this group on Saturdays, and he's calling it the Writers Room, and it's for people that want to help update the Linux sysadmin course. So we did the Linux sysadmin course already, and then they're going to turn it into a book, so then going forward we can just tell people, hey, go reference the book. You don't have to just come in here and go through all the projects and slog through all of this. Everything's just going to be in the book. Like everything you've got to do is just going to be in there. So yeah, he did that. They're doing it as Markdown, and then you actually do pull requests up, and everybody's going to push their branches together. They're going to merge everything on Saturdays, and then the book's going to get better. And this is the goal is that's always going to be something free for you guys. 16 weeks of free goodness, you know, just hanging out and doing whatever. So that's yeah, so there's ways to get involved. There's ways to hang out. Obviously, you guys can drop stuff in the any channel you want, really, but that's there. We've been running that group for a long time, so the goal is to get people into Linux. So, all right, let me go find. Let's go. We'll probably go like end of stream here, and then we'll go find somebody over on the Twitch side to raid. YouTube, unfortunately, I don't have anything cool like that for you guys, but let's see who's on Twitch. Sid's on. We're going to go raid Sid, because Sid's always doing fun stuff with electronics, so we'll go raid over there. If you guys want to, our raid message will be do all the Linux in whatever fashion you find fit. And for the rest of you guys, I will see you tomorrow and or maybe later on this week. All right, take care, everybody.